So today is not media musings. It's a special compare and contrast stream between Pentecostal and Catholic exorcisms. Now, obviously, this can be done in less than 5 minutes because the real difference is in a Pentecostal exorcism, both participants are speaking gibberish. But we are going to be going into a little bit more detail.
Yeah. And in the Catholic one's speaking Latin, so dead language. So it might as well, I don't know. Matter of opinion.
Well, with strange aeons, even Latin may die.
Yeah. I mean, okay, no, that's tangent. We're not tangenting today because we have a lot to talk about, and it's meaty, and we're gonna get into it.
Yeah. And of course,
sweetheart. Sorry.
Yeah. So, hello to Godless Scummer and Junk Shop. And of course, anyone who might be lurking and or watching in the future. Now, since we are discussing exorcisms, this is I already have. If you read the scrolling banner below, there's already a blanket content warning for just general psychological trauma, because this is a heavy subject, and it even milder exorcisms do leave psychological scars.
Yep. So if you've suffered religious trauma, if you've suffered any kind of abuse akin to this, clouded in in a veil of religiosity, this it's okay to check out. We don't. It's okay. We will not be offended.
Yeah.
Your mental health is more important.
Yeah.
And I feel like something potentially worth noting going into this is that technically speaking, the Church of England also do exorcisms.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Technically.
Yeah, technically.
It's on the books that it's on the books that if a doctor basically gives a note saying there's something wrong that isn't a medical issue, then I think it's a vicar or someone. I don't know the exact details, but there is a law around the Church of England and exorcisms.
Wow. It's so weird not having separation of church and state. That is so, well, we barely have it here, but we technically do. So there aren't any laws.
Yeah, we have it more in practice, though.
There are laws. There's religious exemptions for things like vaccinations. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
We don't either. Technically, we do.
Yeah.
But in practice, we don't.
Yes, technically you do, the same way we technically have exorcisms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
But so for those who may not know, let's go ahead and go around the table, give a brief, background of where you sit and where you're coming from. And we'll start with Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie from Julie Wine and Reason, and I was raised very Roman Catholic. And I say that because Catholicism was not taken lightly in my household. Now, we were not as hardcore as a particular family I'm going to talk about. We only went to Mass once a week, but unless you were sick in bed or vomiting, you went to Mass. There was no, it was not a choice. In fact, when I turned 18, I told my parents I didn't want to go anymore. And they said, well, as long as you live under our roof. And I said, I'm 18. You can't legally make me. Do you really want to throw me out my senior year of high school? And they thought about that for a moment. And because they are lovely people and they love me, they said, no, we don't want to do that, but we really wish you'd go. And I said, okay, we have an agreement. But up until that point, I had no choice in the matter. And I went through all the sacraments up until and through confirmation, which means, according to, as far as the church is concerned, unless I can get myself excommunicated, watch my YouTube channel. Excommunicate me, please. I don't want to help you with your numbers. Anyway, sorry for the yelling. Trying to make anyone listen over there. Unless I can get myself excommunicated, as far as the church is concerned, I'm a Catholic for life, and certainly as far as my parents are concerned. They're just,
I mean, good luck on that, because if anyone has like smaller reach than you, it's me.
Yeah, right.
You're talking, you're talking while you're on the platform of someone who is like invisible to the internet in general.
Yeah, me too.
In fairness, your channel's bigger than mine.
I feel both of you. It's I have a lot of subs, but I don't. I suck. No, I don't suck. But the thing is, I work like 60 hours a week now.
Yeah.
So back when I was laid off for 8 months, I put out a lot of content all the time, and I got a bunch of subs, and it was going really well. And now I just don't have time. And I'm lucky if I put out 2 videos a month, and it's just anyway. No. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I got tangent. No tangents. Okay.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Julie. I'm an ex-Catholic. I had 4 great uncles who were priests. Like I said, very serious. Like when I left the church, I felt like I was turning my back on my family, my history, my everything. Yeah. It wasn't easy. But basically I read the Bible and I was like, this is bullshit and it's evil and I can't do it. And yep. So now that's where I come from. I come from the place of an ex-Catholic. Oh, the first horror movie I was allowed to watch, I was in middle school, and my dad rented my friend Layla and I an R-rated movie called The Exorcist that I'm sure you're all familiar with. That was the first horror movie I ever saw and was parentally sanctioned to watch. My dad left the room because it was too intense for him.
Okay, so Sam.
So, if you ask anyone from the church I grew up in, I grew up non-denominational. However, I grew up with people speaking in tongues every week. There were regular prayer healings. People went out in the streets and shouted at everyone else that they were going to burn in hell. It was Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Like, all of the guest speakers they got in from the US were Pentecostal.
Yeah. And okay, so back to me. I grew up in a Foursquare church, which is it's a it's a Pentecostal sub-denomination. It's kind of on the lighter end of that, as in we growing up, we side-eyed the snake handlers. So
see, some of my congregation side-eyed the snake handlers, some of them didn't. Yeah. Some of them encouraged it. Prophecy was highly encouraged.
Growing up, I believed I saw visions. I was never physically baptized, though I was baptized in the Holy Spirit with evidence of speaking in tongues, which, according to Pentecostalism, is what actually counts.
Oh, fun fact, I spoke in tongues as a follower of Loki. That was fun.
And I had actually been exorcised several times.
I really want to hear about this.
Yeah, so largely this was kind of conceived as a compare and contrast kind of stream. And now that we've gone through all the backgrounds, we know who's going to be doing the heavy lifting on the Catholic side of things.
It's okay. It's all right. I got this. Yeah. All right. This was my whole life. And it's freaky. Something that I've noticed that I do, and I've heard other, like, either lapsed or ex-Catholics do this too, it's so that, as you say, Ring, indoctrination is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
It's so strong. Like there's a saying in Catholicism, give me a child until he's 5 and I'll give you a Catholic for life. And I mean, it's they catch you when you are when you're at that age where you're just soaking up information from the people you trust. And clergy are put on a pedestal, which is why they get away with everything that they get away with, that I'm not going to talk about. And and then the other issue is that I find myself doing it all the time. If I talk about, I will probably do it today. If I talk about Catholics and Catholicism for more than a couple of minutes, I start slipping into we. I start saying we. And I have not been a practicing Catholic since I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
I haven't believed in it since I was 17 years old, and I'm 43. So it's just some things are hard to shake. I still get the urge to cross myself sometimes. So don't worry about it. I don't mind doing the heavy Catholic lifting because I kind of love taking the piss out of the Catholic Church because they took a lot of years from me and instilled a lot of bullshit and a lot of fear. So they can have, and shit, I can't touch that institution. I wish I could.
Something has just occurred to me in terms of context is that I am now part of the religion where the term daimon comes from, which is where we get the word demon from. So I have thoughts, TM.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. So actually, really quickly, Sam, are you a practicing neo-pagan? Because I was for a long time, and I can dig
yeah, I'm a Hellenist, so primarily Greek, but also a bit of Celtic and a bit of Norse.
Yeah, me too. I was really into Hecate. And there you go,
nice.
Titans who got us. Yeah, she's one of the few. I think she's the only Titan that made it out of from the Titans into the Hellenistic pantheon after the Titans were, nah.
That sounds right.
It's been a while, but I think she's cool. I still have some cool statues.
She's scary, but she's cool.
Yeah, scary but cool. I'm sorry, we tangented again.
Yeah.
Stop.
So
yes, we should stop.
We'll have a conversation some other time, Sam.
Yeah. So So I think we'll start with kind of a brief overview. Should I flip a coin or should we go in alphabetical order?
Alphabetical order. I like alphabetical. No, you can flip a coin.
Okay.
You can roll a d20 and do 1 to 10, 10 to 20, 11 to 20 if you want.
Okay. So.
I mean, I might have a d8 around here somewhere.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and... Wait.
Oh, that's probably where that came from, Godless Comer.
Yeah. So when I've used Great Wizard Google, give me a child until he's 7 and I will show you the man.
Man, yeah, from the Jesuits.
It comes from Aristotle.
Oh, from Aristotle. Fuck. All right. There we go.
Or at least that's what Google says. Though,
hey, who knows? I mean, I can see how that saying could have been around for thousands of years because it's true. Like children, that's the age in which we learn stuff. Go ahead.
So as I set up the virtual coin flip, and I like flipping 3 because it feels more, it feels more official.
It's like Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Whatever works for you is good.
Well, because it's I don't know. I like flipping 3 coins feels more concrete than just flipping 1.
Okay.
But let's say heads Catholic, tails Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, I mean, the Catholics do get the fancy hats, so.
Yeah.
They're ridiculous.
Oh!
They're fabulous hats. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, fancy hats it is.
Fancy
Yeah,
hats
fancy
it
hats
is.
it is.
That's freaky. All right. Dang it. This is tapping into all of my superstitions. Okay. That I thought I'd taken out to the woodshed and murdered. Superstitions, murdered, metaphor. Okay. Don't want the algorithm to kill anything. Okay, so all right, well, here we go. Let's get started. Just pulling up my notes. Okay. So this is a quote. I'm going to start with a quote, just a sort of overview.
Yeah.
And this is a quote from allthat'sinteresting.com. We couldn't put that link in the chat because every time I tried to send it, or at least I couldn't, because every time I tried to send the link to Ring, Twitter flagged it as this looks like spam, or this looks like an auto thing, a bot thing. And I was like, no, it's just a link to an article. But I do want to caution people, if you go on allthat'sinteresting.com and you look up Annalisa Michael exorcism, that's how you pronounce it in German. It's spelled for English speakers, Annalise Michelle, or with one L. Exorcism. If you do that, just please be warned. There are incredible. This exorcism happened in the 1970s, so there's a lot of photographs. There's footage. There's video. And there are sound recordings, all of which can be found on YouTube. I honestly couldn't bring myself to watch any of the video because I saw the images attached to this one article on All That's Interesting, and I almost threw up. They are rough. Okay, this poor young woman. So I'll talk about that later. She is an example of how bad this can be. But
yeah,
this is about they are citing the ritual. I didn't take Latin. Okay, I took French. I'm sorry. Rituale Romanum. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, which is a book of Christian practices that was assembled in the 16th century. So the quote is, exorcisms have existed in various cultures and religions for millennia, but the practice became popular in the Catholic Church in the 1500s with priests who would use the Latin phrase Vede retro satana, which means loosely translated, go back Satan, to expel demons from their mortal hosts. The practice of Catholic exorcism was codified in the Rituale Romanum, a book of Christian practices, again, assembled in the 16th century, end quote. So now it's interesting. I didn't have time to look for this book, and I didn't make the time. Sorry, guys. But there are so many rabbit holes I could have gone down that I had to just stop and back up and go, nope. We will not have the time. So, but I will say I did ask Junk Shop because Junk Shop, they'd mentioned that there was a bit in the Catechism that they read because they've got the Catechism of the Catholic Church that my darling spouse Junk Shop has been reading on for their patrons, and there's roughly 3 paragraphs on exorcism, and the term is not in the index. Yeah. And I think that's a bit telling. I mean, Catholics know how to use an index; they know what it's for, and so I have a link to a Catholic website that's got like Catholic articles and news, and there's this article that's complete bullshit. I'll get to it, but it's like, oh no, exorcism is not shrouded in mystery. Well, try finding it in the Catechism, okay? Because you can't. But this particular version, just to cite my source, like a good English person. By English person, I mean former English teacher and English major and master's in English person. Anyway, I can't help it, is what I'm saying. So this was Catechism of the Catholic Church. The publisher is Liberia, Edtrice, Vaticana. Pronunciation. Imprini, the Imprini Potest, which I had to plug that into, I can't find any of Junk Shop's old college Latin textbooks, so I had to plug that into just Google Translate. So the Google Translate translation of that is can be printed, Imprini Potest. But here it's done like essentially the person who approved this for That would be the context on the copyright page. And that person was none other than Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, copyright 1994. So Ratzinger, later Pope Benedict the 16th, was the approver of this version of the Catechism. And I didn't even look up the proper German pronunciation of Ratzinger because I don't care. I don't care about him. He doesn't get the respect that other German figures that I'm going to talk about do, because he is Ratzinger. Yeah. All right. So I have a question for you guys. And I use guys. I just want to state for the chat, I use guys as a gender neutral term, but not everyone feels that way. So if that bothers anyone, just let me know. But for y'all's better. Yeah. It covers everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just say y'all.
Yeah, I'm a Yank. Guys is gender neutral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, guys and dude are both gender neutral here, so it doesn't matter that you've got two non-binary people on a femme swing.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love y'all. I'm fond of non-binary people. I'm married to one, so
Yeah. Also, hi to Granny in the chat.
Oh, hi, Granny.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, godless Granny. Welcome to the stream, or to the comments section of one of my streams.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you always. All right, so I have a question for you guys, for y'all. Having trouble getting rid of those pesky demons tormenting your teenage daughter? Unable to cut through the red tape of Vatican approval for a proper exorcism? Have you thought to yourself, there has to be a better way? No need to fret and wear out your rosary. There's an app for that. Oh, yes, I am not kidding. There is an app.
It's linked in the description if you want to check it out.
I'm not buying it. I'm not giving them money, but there is an app available at both the Apple Store and Google Play for Catholic exorcisms, and it exists. And the reviews are not great, and the comments are downright rough. And they're rough largely because they're comments from believers arguing about whether or not this app is irresponsible or whether it is a great tool against the adversary. The comments are a lot and kind of funny. If you just want to check out the comments on the follow the link, you can read the comments. There are two main sections to the app. One is prayers, which lists hang on. Did I pull that link up? Yes, I did. Okay, good on me. All right. So one is prayers, and they're prayers for priests, for priest exorcists, prayers for use by priests in deliverance of people and places, which, places can be possessed and haunted. Now, this is fascinating to me because I knew growing up that it's a fairly common practice among Catholics to have a house blessed by a priest, like a new house if you're just moving in. Yeah. And they come in with a palm frond and holy water, and they get spots on the wall and say prayers. And everyone's supposed to pray along and all of that. Silently, but and sometimes there's a call and response, but whatever. But there are actual proper exorcism rites for haunted places and things. In the Catechism, it mostly talks about cursed objects, so that's fun. Yeah.
Well, so that kind of brings us to one notable difference. As far as I'm aware, places cannot be a source of demonic possession in Pentecostalism. However, certain objects and activities can.
Activities.
Au contraire.
We have controversy.
Yes.
I don't know if this is just my local Pentecostal church thing. It may well be. They're a bit weird, but they had a place that they considered possessed, and not that it would inherently then possess you, but that it would cause you spiritual harm to be in that place. and it was the house of one of the congregation members. And the way they knew it was haunted was that there were a bunch of crows sat on this woman's roof. So they all sat round and prayed and called someone to remove the crows. And then the crows never came back, so they presumed they'd fixed it, and that was considered a totally not exorcism.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's not spell work. What do you mean?
Okay, so oh yeah, Christian sorcery.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
But okay, so I think this is a good lead-in to the overview, the general overview of Pentecostal exorcisms.
Yes, yeah, let's swap overviews. That's a good idea.
Yeah. In that there is no general overview of Pentecostal exorcisms. Because Haunted by Crows. I don't know. I would at least give an album by a band called Haunted by Crows a try.
If they're a goth cabaret band, I'm there.
It sounds like one of the bands that they get in on like a Friday in a pub when the actual band didn't show up.
Yeah. But
kind of does.
So, while the Catholic has, the Catholic Church, seeing as how Catholic means universal, has a universal doctrine largely for their followers.
Mm-hmm.
Pentecostalism leans really hard into the Protestant attitude of I do what I want.
It really does. I don't think I've ever seen two Pentecostal churches do things exactly the same.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. From few Pentecostal folks I've known, nobody described the same thing.
And Pentecostalism is essentially built on the democratization of Jesus magic.
Yeah, so there are I find that Pentecostalism has the same two rules as a lot of pagan groups. You can't tell me what to do, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. But what I've seen is like there are two general verses, verses/passages that serve as the linchpin of Yep.
From what I understand, but I should shut
up.
It is very experience based. It's interesting.
Yeah, the two that are essentially the linchpins of the doctrinal theology of the Pentecostal approach to exorcisms and to a larger degree faith healing, because exorcism just kind of falls under that in the Pentecostal attitude. I can talk, I swear.
Yeah.
I actually have a note on that in a minute when you finished, Ring.
Okay. And
sorry, my hair is doing weird stuff and it's distracting me. Continue.
So that is, so the first of which is Mark 16:17 through 18. And these signs shall follow them that believe in my name. They shall cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Now, brief asterisk on the stake handling thing. That is actually a big controversy. Like, some people think that goes too far.
So my general experience is that snake handling is either considered a thing you should do to demonstrate God's power, or a way to test God that you shouldn't do.
Yeah. Or it's too pagan.
Where do they come down? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that's another one.
Yeah.
The drinking of poison. There were some churches, or there was one church that I heard about when I was a kid, this is so much hearsay here, so I'm not trying to smear all of Pentecostal whatever, but I don't know, all of Pentecostal folks, or the church itself even, but there was one where people actually drank in small doses strychnine or turpentine.
Yes,
at services. Is that a thing? Because this is just something I heard as a kid and then never got around to researching it.
It's uncommon, but I have heard of it.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's bad for you. Don't do that. Sorry, go ahead.
This is true. I've actually known Pentecostal preachers who have their version of snake handling was going and doing faith healing in like plague zones.
Oh wow!
I had the urge to cross myself right then.
And
like, no.
I think scholars do consider that in addition.
Yes.
But that is one of the linchpins of the denomination in regards to their Jesus magic. And yes, I am going to refer to faith healing and exorcism as Jesus magic because that's what it is.
It is.
The other is, behold, I give you power / authority, depending on what version you read, to tread on, serpents and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means harm you.
There you go.
Yeah. I would like to add that there's a third really common one.
Yeah.
In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people.
Oh, yeah.
Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is Acts 2:17. If anyone wants to check my working.
And so that's a way of I imagine of going, hey, Jesus might be coming back. Best get right.
Also for justifying the fact that people were giving prophecy regularly in church.
All right.
Yeah, basically, all this Jesus magic that we're doing is not witchcraft. It's by Jesus's authority and through the Holy Spirit, so it's totally kosher.
Actually, see, it's funny because I would
so had your asses.
So here's a fun thing for you: is that I would definitely call it Christian magic, but I wouldn't call it Christian witchcraft because Christian witchcraft did also exist in the past.
Well,
but that's a story for another time.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, because in Christian circles, witchcraft is a completely derogatory term, and thou shalt not do it.
Yeah,
we're not doing witchcraft. We're doing Jesus magic, which is totally different.
Totally different.
100%.
It's not witch. Okay.
That's not deity work. What do you mean?
But
that's not sympathetic magic. I'm not holding a relic for sympathetic magic.
Yeah, but so
it's fun to have someone in here who knows what that means.
Yeah.
So because the attitude of it is Jesus, you're wielding the authority of Jesus through possession by the Holy Spirit is pretty much it. Like the Pentecostal attitude is pretty much anyone can do an exorcism. So
I've also heard any baptized person can do an exorcism.
Well, because you don't get your magic Jesus powers until you're baptized in the Spirit with evidence of speaking in tongues.
Right.
Yeah. Or you've been dunked, or both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all are weird. All right.
Basically, because Jesus magic is so democratized, every single church does it differently.
Yeah.
I've been to churches.
I want to say, I'm sorry, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah. I've been to churches where the Jesus magic works like, oh, you have this physical problem, God can fix it. And I've been to places where Jesus magic works, your physical illness is actually a demon and we're going to cast the demon out.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Junk Shop has put a term in the chat that I need them to define. Adoptionist heresy. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Okay, so yeah.
Well,
No,
I think yeah, this is a tangent, but it's a somewhat relevant tangent. But I'm pretty sure adoptionism is the belief that Jesus wasn't the physical Son of God, but was the adopted Son of God.
Yeah, so adoptionism was actually a heresy from the 3rd century.
Yeah.
Rejected by the synods. Oh god, I'm trying to. I have an exact phrasing in my head, but I don't want to rattle it off because it's basically what Ring just said.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I can see how that would be. I can certainly see why that would be heretical.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need full-on God-man Jesus for this to work.
But
so weird.
So, aside from it being a doctrinal thing, it's not. It's a bit tangential, so we'll probably leave it there.
Yeah, we can leave it there.
Okay.
All right.
So I think that brings us back to Catholicism.
Yeah, ball back in my court. Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna. Oh, look at me, sports ball metaphoring. That's fabulous. So I'm not gonna get into the app. I just a couple of things. The other section is exorcism against Satan and the fallen angels. Okay. And that section has as exorcism rites it performed by priests for places as well as for people, and that can and like I said, everything from I don't know what to haunted houses, freaking oh my god. Okay, so I found that this app was the first thing I found when I started Googling, because that's how I research now, because it's 2021 and that's just how it works now. Anyway, that was the first thing I found. And I actually I had to sit for a good 15 minutes and just like with the confused dog face head tilt and just like process that this existed. And so I wanted to know, did y'all see a Pentecostal exorcism app? I'm just curious. Did that show up anywhere in your research? No. Okay.
No. See, when I Googled, I literally pretty much just got news articles.
Wow. Yeah, you got real shit. Okay. So
and then there was also a book on the Pentecostal Pentecostal introduced practice of exorcism in Ghana.
Oh, gosh.
A generally accepted practice amongst Pentecostals, as far as I can see, tends to be the laying on hands. So quite often, rather than so if you are possessed, you need someone else to cast your demon out. So other people will physically put their hands all over you, sometimes like 10 or 20 at a time, or they'll put hands on people putting hands on you in order to get as much Jesus power in one spot as possible.
And once again, giant asterisks of every church does this different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is just a consensus I've seen amongst other Pentecostal churches, so this is going to be anecdotal by and large.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. The last thing I'll say about the app is that it was designed by Monsignor Rossetti, who is a trained exorcist who has performed hundreds of exorcisms. God, this happens. And it's produced by, and he started this center. It's produced by St. Michael's Center for Spiritual Renewal. And you can look that up at, and if you're not familiar with St. Michael, he's Michael the Archangel. He is the patron saint of Christian soldiers and of anything against demons and Satan, basically. And he's usually depicted, there's that famous Renaissance painting of him in his gleaming breastplate, holding a great sword, wings out. If you're a fan of the show Supernatural, he's a dick. In D&D terms, he's essentially a paladin of Yahweh. So, yeah. But
there's also a really badass statue of him at the Mont Saint Michel.
There is, and there's actually a St. Michael's church here in my city that has a beautiful, really stark but amazing statue over their doorway that's enormous. It's like 20 feet tall, and of the folded wings, and his head is bowed, and he's holding the pommel of his sword like this against his chest, and it's pretty. I look up and look at it every time I drive by. I would never go in there, but
Something that always amuses me is to look at all like Michael and all the various different figures in Christian mythology, and to look at the ways they've been effectively worshipped in history. Because Michael was basically worshipped through a lot of history, and still kind of is with the Catholics, I guess.
Well, I mean, Catholics would argue that no, we don't worship saints. See, I knew I'd do it. I slipped into we. I said it at the beginning. Anyway, they would argue that they do not worship saints, that they pray to them in asking. It's intercessional prayer, which is a whole thing. That could be a whole other show. Intercessional prayer, because it's all, but I do see your point, and I see the Protestant point when they say, oh, but they do. Well, it certainly looks that way, so I get it.
So
I'm not going to get offended, and in fact, if Catholics did actually worship Mary as a goddess, the mother of God, I might have stuck around longer. I don't know.
Valid. I would like to add that my local Pentecostal church did not feel able to cast goblins out. I will just throw that out there.
What?
There's a local site. There's a local site near a river believed to be haunted by goblins that they did not attempt to exorcise.
Why wouldn't they? Whoa! No, everything stops. You have to talk about goblins in a river where you live in October of 2021. And why? Well, okay, I have so many questions. Why do they think there are goblins? Is that a common thing where you live, that people actually think there are goblins? Like some people still believe in fairies? Why didn't they try to exorcise it? What? Spill.
Okay, so ghost and local spirit beliefs are still relatively common here. And a bit of local folklore is that goblins kept moving the foundations of a local church from by the river to the top of the hill. So the church just gave up and left the church at the top of the hill. And there's still this local folklore around that if you ask people, they'll go, oh yeah, there's goblins by the river. And they don't necessarily mean literal goblins, but they'll be referring to some sort of spirit that people didn't like or something quite often, especially in Pentecostal circles. And most people just consider it a weird bit of local folklore that there's goblins, but some of the people I know genuinely don't like to be by the river at night.
Okay.
But I've never heard of anyone from any of the network of local churches trying to exorcise it, probably because belief in the actual spirits there is so uncommon. But then there are also beliefs in local manor houses being haunted by the ghosts of people who didn't get their revenge. And the only reason that people haven't exorcised those ghosts is that they can't access them.
Oh, this just keeps getting better. It just keeps getting better. Okay, this is something I love about when weird ass if you'll pardon the thing, I'm attacking an idea, not people here in this moment.
Oh yeah.
I'll attack my own people. I will attack specific Catholics later, but just an idea. When weird ass religions get imported to your country, Sam, and it mixes with some of the old the old mythologies and stuff like from there, it's just fascinating to me. I found out that recently a belief, not recently, it was a couple years ago, that belief in a troll in somewhere in the Norse countries, I forget which one, actually stopped civil construction of a road.
Yeah, that's common. I think it might have been Iceland. But there's also really fun stuff like Julie, you might recognize this from magical related things, but my nana will always only stir milk that she's boiling clockwise, because stirring it counterclockwise is unlucky.
Yep, it's unlucky. handful of rogue construction workers sneaking over to the work site and dragging the stones up the hill and giggling over it down the pub. Yeah, for the
Probably.
goblins. What? Okay. Oh gosh, that reminds me.
Demons, yes, but the goblins who live down by the river, no. Jesus is not set up for goblins.
He's really not. I mean,
you need to buy the premium package to dispose of goblins.
He needs more archers. Goblins attack in hordes. I'm sorry, I'm talking about D&D again. Never mind.
Don't go in a goblin den.
and depending on whether or not goblins count as fairies, you may need iron.
You may need iron.
Yeah. See, actually, they're locally called goblins, but if I was to use terms that I'm more familiar with from like the Isle of Man and Cornwall and places, actually the local goblins more resemble boggarts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Boggarts, I'm familiar. Vaguely, but familiar.
But okay, so
wow, shit. Okay, sorry. I just had to.
Sorry.
I have more questions, but I'll ask them after. Okay.
Okay. One last comment from Junk Shop.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh God, they broke me. Yeah. Okay. Oh, actually, I think Sam started it when he said goblin. When they said goblin, I'm sorry. When you said goblin,
she they. She they
did it. Well, thank you, she they. All right, yeah. When she said goblins, I was just
Okay, and one more because it'll be a good segue. Once had a bunch of similar Christians pray over me to have demons removed from me. Oh.
To bring us back round a minute.
Yeah. So and here's the thing, and I commented on this before before we started, is the two Pentecostals actually have something resembling firsthand experience with exorcism.
I've had the demon of asthma and the demon of eczema cast out of me. I've had the demon of the trans cast out of me.
Clearly that didn't take.
Yeah, that obviously works so very well.
Yeah.
But seriously, if there's a demon of eczema and it means the stuff gets off my arm and my feet, that'd be great.
And
if only it were true.
So thing is, growing up, I went to a private Christian school. And because I am very likely neurodivergent, but undiagnosed, because I never got tested, I went, there was a period of time where I went to one of the pastors for counseling.
Good. Counseling.
Christian counseling
was basically guided exorcisms to drive out spirits of depression, spirits of laziness.
Nice. There's a guilt trip in that one.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is, I wasn't very diligent growing up because, well, the way the curriculum in my church school worked is, it was workbooks. If anyone is familiar with accelerated Christian education, you know what I'm talking about. So the thing is, because I love reading, I just read through them and I wouldn't fill them out.
Oh.
Or yeah. So basically how it worked for me is, I'd go up to the pastor's office, Pastor Keith, and there'd be a, little brief discussion, just kind of talking over things. And then, there'd be essentially it worked as a call and response where the pastor, would lead you through, the repentance prayer, and then through the, through addressing the spirit inhabiting you and casting it out in the name of Jesus, by the authority vested in you by Jesus and with the power of the Holy Spirit. And then came the, the finger dab of oil and the praying in tongues.
Okay. I mean, we have confession, so again, not throwing any stones when I'm making this what the fuck face, but just wow, that's a lot. I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. Person.
And what's
I'm working on it. I'm working on it, okay?
Yeah, and what's extra fun is my particular brand of Pentecostalism had the doctrine of, I don't think it has a specific name, but I'm going to call it the doctrine of sevenfold returns. Basically, where there's this parable in the Bible where Jesus is like, a man has this rowdy, party guest, and he kicks him out, and he cleans up his house, and then the guy goes out and brings 7 of his friends worse than him and re-wrecks the house. So it's basically the way the doctrine goes is if you drive out an evil spirit, if you drive out a demon, and the person returns to the behaviors or activities that allowed the demon in the first place, then you're gonna be, possessed 7 times worse.
Oh, interesting. So not only is it worse, it's also on you. It's your fault if you get possessed in the first place because you did behaviors that allowed the demon in, right?
Yeah.
And that's the belief behind it. I wasn't trying to directly quote you there. I'm sorry. I'm just saying there is a guilt cycle here that I'm saying.
Well, some people who have, people who are familiar with my online presence will have seen me reply with, or with the offhand comment, "That's how you get the demons."
Like that's how you get the herpes, but that's how you get the demons.
Yeah. Things like, Well, and of course, because Pentecostalism is so loosey-goosey with their doctrines, what can cause demon possession varies by family.
Okay, well, that leads us to, whoa, hang on. I want you to describe that more before I say I have Catholics have a different take on that. But go ahead and please say varies from family to family. What now?
Yeah, for instance, there was a family who went to the same church I did, who believed in the Heath Ledger was possessed by demons while playing the Joker, so that's why he killed himself theory.
Oh,
and thus didn't allow their kids to watch The Dark Knight because that would be a doorway to demonic possession.
Okay, but also don't make something so horrible.
My family thought that was stupid. Now to illustrate this point, Mary Poppins was too witchcrafty for my mom.
Okay. And we're back to that's super weird.
Yeah, my mum never let me watch Mary Poppins, but not because it was too witchcrafty, just because she didn't like it.
Oh, my parents loved that shit so much.
Oh,
but I will say, I was never allowed. I was never allowed to watch He-Man or She-Ra or play D&D. My dad plays now, so
or another fun difference that can hopefully segue into what Julie has to say is so how earlier in the stream Julie said, you said the first R-rated movie you were allowed to watch, and it was actually sanctioned by your father, was The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what movie was like on the top of the "Thou shalt never touch lest you be possessed by demons" list was for I'm gonna probably like go ahead and risk painting this too broad. This is probably like one of the few universal Pentecostal things is "Thou shalt not watch The Exorcist lest you be possessed by demons."
Well, it's got that evil papal magic in it.
Yeah. By and large, this is true in my experience. It's as close as we get to universal. I do know the odd Pentecostal family who's fine with it. My mum appears to no longer be Pentecostal, which is nice. But the church I grew up in still was. And one of my big things growing up was I wasn't allowed to watch Harry Potter or Star Wars because they might turn me into a witch. Look how that turned out.
That didn't turn out well, did it?
Star Wars was okay. Harry Potter wasn't, but I think the reason Star Wars was okay was because my dad saw it in the 70s, and he kind of tamped down my mom's strictures a bit.
Star Wars was absolutely okay, and in fact, my parents saw it as kind of a affirmation kind of movie, like or trilogy, because they were like, oh no, the Force is the Holy Spirit. That's I mean, they saw it as a direct allegory to, I mean, that it just shows how your worldview and your faith and your worldview and all of those things, your culture can absolutely color how you perceive things and criticize them and judge them. Yeah, one person's devil magic is another person's that's God.
And
that's just,
that being said, I like, even though I'm deconverted, I doubt I'll ever watch The Exorcist because I do have a bunch of religious trauma.
Yeah, that's okay.
In that where I can barely sit through the obligatory faith healer episode of a Monster of the Week show.
Yeah, fair.
Valid. I actually find something really funny that I'm pretty sure my mum was influenced by my stepdad, because my stepdad got my mum playing Magic the Gathering.
Holy crap!
And like, my stepdad introduced me to Magic the Gathering and D&D, and he lent me his Harry Potter books.
Amazing. I love it.
So
I love it so much.
I credit my stepdad strongly for chilling my mum the fuck out.
Yeah.
So anyways, Julie, you were going to say something.
Yeah, Catholics believe they don't believe that demon possession is voluntary in any way, shape, or form. It's completely involuntary. Nobody invites it. Nobody asks for it. Demons are always, Satan's always trying to find a way in. And usually because of that, demons go after the most faithful, the most devout. So if you get possessed, it means, Satan is going after you. Anyway, Satan is going after you demons are going after you because they need to stop you from getting to heaven or from finishing your destiny on earth, because you might very, very well be destined to become a saint or something.
Yeah.
So it's never, I guess the only nice thing about it psychologically, and there's nothing else nice about it, is that it's not on you. It's one of the few things you're not guilt tripped about as a Catholic. It's not your fault that you're possessed.
No. No, don't. No.
And yeah, the reason, if nobody caught the beginning or caught it at the beginning, the reason I was allowed that The Exorcist, and I wasn't old enough to rent it myself because it was R-rated, and I was only 13, 14 maybe. I was in 8th grade. But the reason my dad rented it for me and then was like, I don't watch horror movies, and noped out of there, was because he thought it was a good, like, cautionary tale. He was like, this is something you need to know about. You need to know that this happens. This is real. And that's a terrifying thing to tell a 13-year-old. I'm just saying. Okay. But yeah. Okay. So just to, so all links in the description. I'm going to move on to, and again, connected loosely to the exorcism, because this is speculative, but oh gosh, I should have written, you know what? I'm not even going to bring that up because I didn't bring up can't think of the author's name right now. So screw it. But a lot of films have been based on one particular exorcism case that I want to talk about, because I can't speak from first person experience, thankfully. But I can talk about, if you've heard of the horror movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which, if you're into Christian mythos horror movies, which I am, it's a pretty good movie. But again, don't watch it if you have religious trauma. But that's based on a woman that was neither an Emily nor an American. She was a young German woman named, and I'm going to try really hard to pronounce her name correctly, y'all. I listened to it like 18 times last night. Anneliese Michiel. And it's for English speakers, it's spelled Anneliese Michel, or Michael, but without the A. So, but it's supposed to be pronounced Anneliese Michiel, and I'm going to try and say it that way for the rest of this. Okay, so this part is from an article on allthat'sinteresting.com titled, and wait before you Google it, Anneliese Michiel, see, already messed it up, and the shocking images of the real Emily Rose. And I need to insert, and I've got a couple of sources for this, by the way, you guys, not just this one. I need to insert a warning here. So that's why I said, please don't Google this yet. Give me a second. The images in this article are extremely graphic and horrible.
Even if you just Google the name, the images are pretty bad.
Yeah. If you just Google the title if you just Google her name, the images are terrible. And it's because this exorcism happened in the late 70s. These are full color photos, and she suffered physically a lot. So please don't Google this if you've been abused, if you've had, there are just so many things. Just know your limits. Like I said, there's audio and video of her exorcisms on her exorcisms, plural, and we'll get to that, on YouTube. I couldn't bring myself to watch it because just seeing those images messed me up. I got physically nauseous. So just warning, please don't. Yes. Your mental health is more important. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I actually have a question, Julie.
Yeah, I might have the answer.
I've heard some of my Catholic friends discuss around her exorcism and discuss like controversies and conspiracy theories and the priest wasn't really a true Catholic and stuff.
Oh, that's bullshit. He was. It was sanctioned. He was exorcism.
And I was about to say, I don't know if you ever heard any like conspiracy theories around that particular case.
No, I mean the only conspiracy, and it's not a conspiracy. The only no, I haven't. The only thing I've ever heard was that the lawyers for the Vatican funded lawyers for the priests, the two priests, because eventually this does end in a spoiler, y'all. This story does end in a trial for manslaughter, and two priests and the Mahals, Joseph and Anna, her parents, are all brought up on manslaughter charges, which is one of the reasons why. Here's the thing. They're not only brought up on manslaughter, or I'm sorry, it's not manslaughter. Pardon me. It's negligent homicide. I was going to get to this later, so I'm not looking at it right now. So legal terms. I'm not Andrew Torres. Okay. But they were all found guilty, and that's one of the reasons we have all of this information, is because it's all in the public record, because it had to be in a court case. Normally, Catholic exorcisms are done on the DL. They're classified as private. The Vatican keeps extensive records, including video, audio, and now digital, I'm sure. But people you can't access that. Lay people can't access that.
Meanwhile, there are videos of Pentecostal exorcisms just on YouTube.
There you go. Yeah. So we can all check that out after this, which I totally am. I'm fascinated now.
I'm pretty sure that my one of the people who went on to be a pastor at the old church I used to go to runs a newsletter, and I'm pretty sure he put like pictures of exorcisms in the like local newsletter that they went and handed out to people while they were street preaching.
All right, fun. Well, I do want to get into this a little bit, because Ring, you're gonna have. I don't want to. This is me kind of checking in with you for a second. So the reason what started with this young woman was that she had a very intense grand mal seizure, and so her parents took her to a neurologist, and at a psychiatric clinic. She was born in Bavaria, West Germany, and this was in the early 70s, when the first time she was 16, the first time she had a seizure. And so they did the responsible thing. They took her to the doctor, like good parents. Yep. And she was diagnosed with frontal lobe epilepsy. And the sad thing is that form of and epilepsy there are different forms of it, and it manifests differently. But it can result in frontal lobe epilepsy, can result in delusions and hallucinations. And they were very straight with her family about this, and they put her on anticonvulsant or anti-seizure medication, and on that also and antipsychotics, which I'm going to talk about that too, because these were first generation antipsychotics. But the priest that, and this is what I want to check in with you about, Ring, the priest that petitioned, Ernst Alt, he was the one who petitioned the local bishop. That was Bishop Joseph Stangl. I'm sure that's not how that's pronounced, but some of these folks, I didn't care enough about them to look up the pronunciation of their name, who eventually approved the request and granted local priest Arnold Rentz permission to perform an exorcism, but ordered that it be carried out in total secret. Alt's testimony in court was that despite the fact that she'd been diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy by a neurologist, that she, quote, did not look like an epileptic. So just wanted to ask you, Ring, what does an epileptic look like?
Yeah. So
one of my nephews is epileptic, by the way.
Yeah. So also there's a bunch of different types of epilepsy. And like the only reason I was diagnosed with epilepsy, or with the type of epilepsy I have, is because when the neurologist finally prescribed me medication as a trial, it worked.
Ah, okay.
Or like, for instance, my epilepsy is like, my sense of balance will kind of go away a little bit, and at the worst, at the very worst, I'll stutter and I'll kind of look like I have Tourette's.
Okay. All right. So yeah, again, it manifests very differently for different people. And like my nephew, for example, he's had one grand mal seizure that I know of, and after that first one, they put him on anti-seizure medication, and he has been good ever since. Again, as far as I know, he lives kind of far away now, and he's gotten older, and we're not as close as we used to be. So I don't know if he's had other seizures or not, but at least from that first one for several years, he didn't have a seizure. So the medication controls his extremely well. Not everyone is that lucky, unfortunately. There are, because like you said, there are many different kinds and there are varying degrees. And
my medication controls mine well as long as I'm well rested.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Hey, that's a whole other show, but I could talk about, because I take anti-seizure meds too, but I take them for a side effect that they have, which is as a mood stabilizer. I take them on an off-label prescription to control my help control my bipolar disorder. But if I don't get enough sleep, if I get too stressed out, if I do the wrong things, if I'm not taking care of myself, it can throw a lot of things out the window.
And while I don't ever black out, it is a 50-50 shot as to whether I'll get a headache or I'll get high.
Oh yeah, you said that.
Yeah. And while people may think this is a tangent, this is actually not, because there is a link, basically, Christian sects have trouble discerning whether something is mental health or mental health / neurological issues or demon possession.
Exactly.
I have an anecdote I wanted to bring up earlier.
It is literally hard enough figuring out if something is neurological or mental health. Never mind including demon possession in it as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
So
without an MRI or a CT scan or something, it's a nightmare.
It is.
My high school gave us assemblies on the fact that if we had an anxiety disorder, we should pray for God to fix it. Which for a lot of people in there was directly related to the idea of exorcism and praying the devil out of you.
Yeah.
Praying the hell out of you.
So the thing, let me do the thing I'm scared of to ease my anxiety about the thing I'm scared of.
Yeah, it's basically like exposure therapy, but done really, really badly.
Really badly. Like, it's one thing for me to listen to My Favorite Murder. This isn't a tangent because I'm going to cite them later. But it's one thing for me to listen to My Favorite Murder and to help me deal with my anxiety by listening to true crime stories. But that's different. Yeah, that's a whole other kettle of fish, Sam. That's a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, fun. Okay, so and also just to bring it back real fast to how this all relates to mental health, and all of us, everybody here right now is a mental health advocate. I've all seen you do that. I do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the chat are as well. Looking at you, Junk Shop. Neither
did the exorcisms for me.
Yeah.
Seeing as we are talking about mental health, let me fix my background.
Fair. That is okay. I like it. So again, the type of epilepsy that I swear I had this name down last night and this morning, and now it's like I have to be looking directly.
Annalise Michel.
Yeah, except it's Annalisa. The E is pronounced as an A. Okay. I got it.
Umlaut over the I.
Anyway, I'm going to stick with Annalisa for now because it's it's easier than trying to do her last name too, if that's all right. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Okay. So, because she's definitely Anyway. So, the temporal lobe epilepsy that she had caused grandma seizures. It also can cause, and did with her, delusions and hallucinations. She was also, something called Geiswind syndrome, GESCHWIND syndrome, which is a condition characterized by hyper-religiosity. And also, even if she didn't have like she didn't have to have that syndrome characterized by hyper religiosity for her delusions and her hallucinations to take the forms that they did, which were essentially she started hallucinating voices saying she was going to rot in hell, and that she was damned. She was seeing demon faces. I mean, just if you know her background. Oh, have I told you that yet?
No, can I point something out? Isn't it funny how when people have got delusions, religious delusions, the demons always look exactly as the priest describes to them?
Yeah, that is funny, isn't
Funny
it?
how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny that.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me skip back. I apologize. I jumped ahead. So she's taking medication for epilepsy. She was also, when she was treated that initial time when she was 16, she was also, according to a different source, also diagnosed with depression. So, but she gets through high school, and she gets accepted to and starts attending the University of Würzburg, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, in 1973.
Würzburg.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Würzburg.
Würzburg, right? Oh, that's right, because we want to turn the W's into V's.
W to V's, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So at that point, her condition worsened. The meds weren't working, and by all accounts, she was taking them. Now, I'm forgetting something important to tell you something important, and it's that she is raised in a fiercely Catholic, very observant, very religious family. They went to mass as an entire family twice a week. I told you all at the beginning of this that my family was kind of hardcore. This is more hardcore than us. This is like the next level of Catholic. Like we weren't even this. Yeah.
I was considered hardcore for going once a week at school when I was in the Catholic phase.
I'd be like, that's just what you're supposed to do.
It.
And they went to a Catholic school.
Ah, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
I went to a Catholic school.
Wow.
So yeah.
Didn't you have chapel every Friday? Did you have chapel every Friday then?
Well, yeah, because we had chapel every, like, obviously during Lent there's a mass every day. Pretty much. There's a mass every Wednesday and Friday during Lent, and then in Holy Week there's a mass every day.
Yeah.
And then there used to be a mass on a Wednesday lunchtime, an optional mass that we could go to, and I used to go to that. So I was, even the priest used to look at me and say to me, "Why are you here?" You know, they used to be surprised when students showed up to this mass.
Oh,
so that's how hardcore I was. But I was there because it was a good escape from like just the rest of everything else.
Fair.
I'm sorry.
No. You're fine. You're fine. No.
I saw my fair share of weird approaches to mental health in Catholicism.
Yeah.
And they were very. If I say to you, the school was called a Roman Catholic school. They called themselves a Roman Catholic, very specifically.
Yeah. I was raised Roman Catholic, and I was taught that is very important. It's a very important distinction.
Yes, very important distinction.
It's always those magic 2 letters just shoved somewhere in the school name, RC.
Yeah.
RC, exactly. You are so right. Yeah, for those of you who aren't familiar, if you see RC in a Catholic school or a school or just a school with a religious with a Christian name, it's a Catholic school. It's a Roman Catholic school specifically, and we'll make sure the students know that. I was very lucky. My older 3 siblings had to go to Catholic school, but then my oldest sibling went. But the Catholic school in my tiny hometown in Kentucky was the only private school in the town at the time. So that school, at least the only private high school. I think there was another, but elementary, but it doesn't matter. The high school was the only private high school. So it was also the school where the few rich people in town, like the doctors and the lawyers, that's where their kids went. Like their kids would go to public school through middle school, and then they'd send them to St. Mary's for high school because they just assumed it was better because it was private. It wasn't. Wasn't much better than Tillman. Still pregnancy rates were basically the same.
They were higher in my high school.
That's usually
they were
the
higher
case.
in mine. We were not. We got the whole abstinence only. You are special. Save it for marriage. We got the crunched up paper and the chewed up gum, and we got all of it. And then,
luckily,
when
I
girls
just
came
got
to school and
pet
said
your
they were
dog, not
pregnant,
your
the school
date.
would buy them a pram.
Jesus.
I would like to bring up the fact that they gave us abstinence-only education in top set biology.
Okay.
I know we got the biological side of it, but we got hormone science rather than sex science, and our sex ed was part of RE. That's how you knew it wasn't.
Yeah. See, we got sex ed, though not really, which I've ranted about before. But like separately, my biology teacher went out of her way to give us additional abstinence only.
Oh,
I'm so glad I skipped. I skipped Catholic school. I got to go to public school. Is my point.
Will point out, I just because I was listening in earlier before I jumped on. These pictures of these Annalisa Michel, or however it's pronounced.
Yeah. No, that was very good. That was right.
You were absolutely right to give a warning about the images of her. And I say this with all respect to both her and the people I'm going to compare her to. She looks like a concentration camp survivor.
She really. I had a similar thought. Yep. Yeah, it's hard. They're hard to look at, you guys. She weighed hard to look at. She weighed roughly 66 pounds by the time she died.
I'll be completely honest. She probably looked like she'd been in the morgue a week before she got to the morgue.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly, with all the bruising and stuff on her face and the blood clots.
It's okay. Yeah, it's rough. So, if you want to go look at it, go look at it. It's a free country, but just you don't have to if it's going to upset you. Okay. So, So anyway, but given everything she's going through, as a very young person, she not only finishes high school, she does well enough that she gets into this university, and she goes and she's studying teaching. She wants to be a teacher. This is what's such a horrible bummer about all of this too. This is part of how how Hitchens was right. Religion poisons everything, because she was going to be a teacher. We need intelligent, compassionate teachers. That's good. That is just a good thing. And anyway. So while she was at university, her condition worsened and the meds weren't working. And again, by all accounts, she was taking them. And at this point, she was taking, and I'll get into it a bit later about the exact med she was taking, but she was taking anti-seizure medication. She was taking antipsychotics, and may or may not have been taking antidepressants or not. That bit's a little fuzzy because there's so much written about this, and some of it's very sensationalized. Okay. So she and her family petitioned and again, this is all right now. I'm talking about the article on the website that you all just Googled. She petitioned the church for help. And again, this is also where sources get fuzzy, because while we have the precise dates for everything, including when Ernstalt, Joseph Rentz, and Annalisa's parents, Joseph and Anna Michel, were convicted of negligent homicide during 67 exorcisms over 10 months between September 1975 to June of 1976.
Yeah. 67, and then she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just get to the gory details right away, because let's get them out of the way. She suffered starvation and dehydration. That is technically what killed her.
Technically.
Yeah, technically. Her knees were broken from kneeling and genuflecting so much. She had broken teeth, and her body was just ravaged by malnutrition. And she was, as Noodle said, horribly bruised in lots of places, including she had 2 black eyes, which weirds me out. I know you can bruise easily when you're suffering malnutrition, but I'm like, did someone hit her in the face? What happened? I don't know.
No, she's clearly been hit in the eyes. Like
it looks like it. It
really
looks like it.
You can practically see the fucking fist marks.
Yeah.
And
fair.
her mouth was all busted up and everything as well, so it's quite obviously being smacked around.
And she had sores on her mouth because she was dehydrated, and you will get sores on your lips and inside your mouth if you don't. If you aren't given fucking water to drink. Okay, I'm sorry.
If I were to guess, I would say probably because fasting was part of the procedure.
It was. Yeah, you called it, my friend.
Yeah.
You did. So, Jesus. She also kind of stopped eating as well. And that was probably part of the either mental illness or the in conjunction with the epilepsy and everything she was experiencing. Like one night during dinner, she saw demon faces coming at her through the walls. And also there is very much a Noodle. I think you can confirm this because you just brought up Lent. There is very much a fasting aspect to Catholicism. And it's considered a holy thing to do. It's depriving yourself of anything good is a good thing.
And then we were always taught, you fast during Lent. And my school actually tried to get us to literally completely fast rather than just give something up for Lent.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
And I basically turned around and said, no. I said, I'm not doing it. You can't force me to do it.
Yeah.
And I kicked off. And they were saying, oh, but why not? And I told them outright. This was when I was about 15. I told them outright. I said, I don't believe in it, so I'm going to do it. Why am I going to go around and ruin what's essentially 6 weeks of my education every year? Because that's how long Lent is. It's 40 days and nights.
Mm-hmm.
Of my education where I'm not going to be able to focus, not going to be able to study anything. Right before Easter, and don't forget the big exams always come just after Easter. Why am I going to throw that spanner into the works of my education?
Fair.
Yeah.
And good argument.
And I was quite lucky in that my parents backed me up 100% on that one.
Well, that's good.
My mum's thing of fasting was you don't fast in my mum's house. No one goes hungry in my mum's house.
Yeah. My parents
will tell you about them.
My mom was similar. We observed the Lenten fast very lightly. We just abstained from essentially red meat and chicken on Fridays. Like we still ate fish.
We I would give up chocolate, or I would give up like a specific sweet or something just to shut my teachers up. But my mum was always. I came home and told my mum I was going to go vegetarian for Lent, and she looked at me. She said, "Sit down and eat your lamb chops."
Yeah.
I've ended up, since becoming pagan, having more conversations than I did as a Christian with some of my Christian friends about them doing Lent and about healthier alternatives than trying to starve yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
I've get it right. If you're gonna fast, that's how you do it. You do it the way
I actually have a Muslim friend who was really upset that she couldn't fast for Ramadan because of a health problem. So I sat down with her and basically went, okay, so what is the point of Ramadan? What would be a good substitute for you to still demonstrate religiosity?
Exactly. And the thing is, Islam allows for that when they're pregnant, if you're diabetic, even TMI warning, even when AFAB people are on their periods, they get an exception.
Yeah,
they have to pay it back later in the year, but they do get an exception.
Yeah. So
it's not.
On the subject of different forms of religiosity, actually, Ring, did your church ever do a thing where after like a mass faith healing, they'd do a communion for all the healed?
No, and like most of the mass. Well, so there were the. If there's anyone who, there was always the altar call healings. If anyone has something they need to be delivered of, please step, as the last couple worship songs are being played after the sermon. But most of what you would call would mass deliverances would be done during retreats, whether it be like a men's retreat or a youth retreat.
Okay.
When you've got like a bunch of people sleeping on the floor of the church or whatever, center they rented out for the night or for the weekend, and there's a bunch of, activities to get you nice and sleep deprived to make the,
to fuck your head up so you'll answer an altar call at the end of it.
to make the emotional manipulation that is such a linchpin of Pentecostal services hit that much harder.
Yep.
I went on a retreat. I went on a Catholic retreat to I think it was called Ample Falls?
Say it again.
Ample Falls Abbey. It was a retreat to Ample Falls Abbey.
Oh, okay.
That my school did. And it's a monastery of Benedictine monks. And we went for a week, 5 days. And we get there now, and we set off early in the morning. We get there, and they keep us up until like 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night on the first night. Then they wake us up at 5:30 in the morning for morning mass, morning prayers before breakfast. Then breakfast is, if you've ever been to like a 1-star motel where breakfast is like 2 slices of bread and a little tub of jam, that's breakfast. And then the day's just packed out with activities, and they're all physically demanding activities as well. And don't forget, we're all 14-year-old girls, and they've got us cleaning, they've got us lifting and carrying and stopping all the time, basically following the same routine as the monks themselves. These, grown-ass men, 6'2", built like a thing. And they kept us on this for 4 days.
Okay.
We were on that. And there was no meat on the menu. It was strictly vegetarian menu. There was no sugary drinks. It was either you got 1 cup of orange juice in the morning, and then it was water.
Ooh, no caffeine?
With no caffeine. You could have 1 cup of coffee in the morning, but that was it.
Okay.
But no caffeine other than that. And it was that cheap instant coffee.
Oy.
So it wasn't, So by the 4th day now, we're so wrecked, we're high.
Yeah.
When you're so tired, you're actually lively and you're doing more because you feel stoned.
Yep. And you are primed for some being controlled.
Then the 5th day, on the Friday now, there's going to be a big mass and the bishop's coming. So we've all got to get ready, and we've all been told we've got to do this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all knackered, we're listening to this. And the whole time, all throughout this week, don't forget, we're being stopped every 3 or 4 hours to pray and to hear lectures on religion and everything else. We're basically following a monk's schedule for a week. Yeah. And we paid for the privilege of this. I don't know what my parents were thinking, but we paid for the privilege of doing this. And then we come, and then obviously they bring us home. And the number of girls I saw, and the thing is, they got us. Actually, no, I wasn't 14. I must have been younger than that. We must have been about 13, because they did it and they held it right before the sign-ups for your confirmation classes.
Well, they were okay. I know why they did it, and I know why they did it at that age. They were looking to recruit.
They were looking to
people who might have a religious calling. What they were doing.
Because it was that
I was at the same age when they sent us to a convent for a retreat.
Yeah, no, that's when I went through my
we had fun.
Religious sort of. I got really religious for a bit, and it was just after that retreat.
Yeah,
years later, looking back, I realized it's because I was basically mind fucked.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was no need for exorcisms or anything, because the mentality at my school was I was bullied for being pro-choice. That's the kind of school I went to.
Wow.
And I don't just mean by the students, I mean by the teachers.
Well, I mean, actually,
I refused to wear the little gold shoes, little gold feet.
Okay. I remember those.
They came to our school, I refused to wear them, and my teacher literally put me in detention for 3 days because I refused to wear it.
Okay. Again, really glad I got to go to public school.
Yeah.
Because I did get bullied a little bit for being pro-choice in school, but not a lot. Not a lot. Because that was an argument we regularly had. Like, it was an easy debate argument. So,
see, I'm really surprised that my high school didn't. I mean, I had a Church of England high school, but they like brought up abortion, but they didn't let us debate on it. They did let us debate on the Kalam, but they didn't let us debate on that.
Okay.
We didn't get to debate on the things they can teach you circular logic on. Because they used to let us debate on whether Jesus was a historical figure. And they used to say that Mark's gospel was based on what Peter said. And I quote, this was the justification for believing it. You're not going to forget something so important as meeting the Messiah, even if it's 50 years later. Those were that was the argument we were taught to parrot.
Yeah, that's thin. All right.
And we were taught to take Tacitus as given. Like we weren't told that he was born 50 years after the fire. We were told that he was around at the time. And again, we were told, even though he was just a kid, he would remember it. And why would you forget something as important as that? Like, the circular logic was ridiculous.
It is. But I think I can tangent. I think I can segue. I think I can segue back with that, actually. To maybe it's loose, it's tenuous, but okay.
It's
so
more tenuous than the argument.
It's fine. Yeah. So Annalisa died on July 1st, 1975, at the age of 23. But I do want to quote from the article that over those, I'm paraphrasing, I'll let you know when to start quoting, over those 10 months that Alton Rentz conducted the 67 exorcisms lasting up to 4 hours each. Quote, through these sessions, Annalisa revealed that she believed she was possessed by 6 demons: Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, a name I can't say because it will get this video pulled.
Yeah,
we'll call him
1930s German Voldemort.
There we go.
Yes.
Nero, which I found interesting, and Fleischmann, a disgraced priest from like the 16th century.
Why are they only ever possessed by the big names? Why are they possessed like
Well,
stunt demon number 7 from
why are
Supernatural
people
episode 34?
right? It's never demon number 7 because why are people always the reincarnation of of Pocahontas instead of like Carl the fishmonger who got run over by a cart?
Yeah. No one's ever the reincarnation of Doug the shit shoveler.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Bob the Tanner. No. It's okay. Okay, so so like I said, they were brought up on charges, and again, this is why when you try to find examples of Catholic exorcism online, it's hard. It's apparently easy. This is as a point of contrast. It's easy to find Pentecostal ones. It's hard to find Catholic ones because the church does not share this information. It's not public. It absolutely is, no matter what that article on one of the links in the description wants to say about how it's not a practice shrouded in secrecy. Yes, it freaking is. Okay.
It fucking well is.
Thank
Everything
you.
the Vatican does is shrouded in secrecy.
So much. So the 2 priests were found guilty of. Okay, this is another thing that I don't know if this is correct or not. Because again, different sources say different things, which is why I'm going to talk about a different source here in one sec. But the 2 priests, quote, the 2 priests were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence. That may be correct. And were sentenced to 6 months in jail, which was later suspended, and 3 years of probation. The parents were exempted from any punishment as they had, quote, suffered enough, a criterion for sentencing in German law. I y'all, I tried to look this up, and I read another source that stated that all 4 served jail time, but that one was clearly a tabloid, so I didn't even cite it. I just
except for the fact that the parents are quoted as saying that they don't regret her dying.
No, they don't. They don't. They
So how is that suffered enough? So the suffered enough thing is a that
yeah.
is
Do you know about this?
A little bit. I think now this is I'm scraping the dregs of an undergraduate degree I took nearly 10 years ago. So don't quote me. I think it's something to do with obviously we all know what happened in Germany in the 30s and 40s, and a lot of it is a lot of people clearly didn't have a choice. A lot of people would have been conscripted essentially into that mentality and what was going on. And so part of the defense was always it's essentially time served. It's a time served defense that says, well, you were living in this situation that is utterly horrendous, and therefore it wouldn't be fair to punish you again for something you had no control over. But it does depend. It's not usually for that. Defenses like that are usually for like the children of officers who lived adjacent to concentration camps and things. They've seen enough and they've suffered enough. They're going to suffer enough for this. You know, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
The wives thereof, the extended family thereof, that kind of thing. Or when there was obviously backlash, and there's not a lot spoken about it, but that argument is kind of the basis for why the Simon Wiesenthal was able to essentially go around the world extrajudicially, and because it was basically said of he's not going to do anything worse than what's already been done to him and his people. Was the justification. Now you can argue the toss there, but it's I feel like it definitely, from what I know of this case, I feel like it was misapplied.
I agree, but I will say I can see why they brought it up, and so, like I said, this thing has been covered to death, so I'm not going to go through every single gory detail, but Annaliese's behavior was bizarre, and the one example I'll give of many is she once got on her hands and knees, crawled under the family dining table, and barked like a dog for 2 days straight. So. Yeah. That that's not her fault. She was sick.
You can see what they've done. Yeah.
I think they probably twisted that into, but look what her parents had to deal with.
Yeah, a lot of it is, for example, there's another case under German law where there was a school shooting, 17-year-old, and the father was brought up on charges for it. And the defense was, hasn't he suffered enough? And I think he was actually found guilty in the end. But the whole point is, I think, even though he did that, he's actually he's under police protection, or he went under police protection because he just couldn't be released into the general public after something like that. It's those kind of things where under German law that it's at the discretion of the judge.
Right. Okay.
It is very much at the discretion of the judge.
Well, and also, again, different sources say different things, and I can't get my hand on German legal documents. But thank you. This is the most credible one. Next to the next one, or actually probably as credible as the next one I'm going to go. But thank you for explaining that, Noodle, because I was going to ask if anybody in the chat is familiar with German jurisprudence. Please explain this to me. You did it. Thank you. I tried to look it up. and just ended up in a rabbit hole of weirdness that I couldn't
Yeah,
and I couldn't find. I don't think I had the right terminology.
It's just the German answer to the discretionary powers of a judge in sentencing.
Okay.
So the judge doesn't have, you know, as with in I think US law as well.
Yeah, they have leeway in how
they
can
have
apply.
leeway, and
It's
that's what it
specific
means.
leeway to a crime. Usually, it's like it has to be between this and this. They can give the minimum to the maximum sentence.
So, and it's that, you know, in the case of the father whose son did the school shooting, they were calling for a 2-year suspended sentence for the father was the defense. In the end, that's not what happened because that defense didn't hold. So
Right.
it's just it's the discretionary powers of a judge.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting in this case was the Vatican lawyers tried to, well, or at least Vatican funded lawyers tried to. They actually played the reason we have access to all of this video and audio is because it was used in the defense of the priests who were brought up on negligent homicide charges, and as I said, found guilty. And they so they brought in video of the exorcisms and audio of it, and I don't think it helped because they were found guilty. I don't think it helped, but it may have because the priests were given such light sentences. That 6 months in jail that was suspended and 3 years probation, and that was it.
Yeah, but you've got to think as well, Europe, Catholicism in Europe, I don't think people realize the Catholic Church in Europe is still very much a significant power.
No, half of my family is Roman Catholic.
And I guarantee you the judge would have been a Catholic. I guarantee you the judge will have been a Catholic to give a sentence like that to priests over something like this. Like, I don't know for definite, but I will put money on it. I will put money on it.
And I should say another thing that probably didn't help is that being as devout as she was, Annalisa never once complained about this. She absolutely was there for it. She thought they were doing the right thing. She wanted the exorcisms to happen. She thought it was demons.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, though? And that's where you've got to start questioning her mental competence at that point. Mm-hmm. Whether she even was in a position to be making a judgment like that.
She wasn't.
Clearly she wasn't.
And her parents, though, agreed with her. That's the problem. So the people who would have been, that decision would have been passed to were her incredibly devout, took their 4 daughters to mass twice a week parents.
Eek.
Yeah, eek indeed.
Yeah.
So this has gone on a bit. So I'm just going to wrap it up by saying I would recommend, if you want to hear this story in detail with just a couple of different things that, you know, might give you a little more insight or fun. It goes into the I will do one thing for you. It's there. If you listen to the podcast, My Favorite Murder, which I do, I'm a big fan, by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark, episode 66, The Devil's Number. This is a earlier days one, and it's a lot of fun. Check it out, episode 66.
It's in the description below.
It is. Yeah, thank you. Georgia covers this case, and she does an excellent job. And the one thing I want to point out is that this is kind of funny. In the 70s, antipsychotics were not the same antipsychotic well, they were, but they
were first generation.
They were first generation or typical antipsychotics, and these were hardcore drugs. They carry a fair to larger risk of developing extrapyramidal side effects like tardive dyskinesia. And the only reason I know that is because my first technical writing job was for a psychiatric journal. But I did look it up to make sure I was right. And I'm glad I did because I got something wrong initially. So I corrected it. So there is a link to the Psychopharmacology Institute, and there may be a link to PubMed in there as well.
I mean, we're talking about an era where they were experimenting with LSDs to help with psychosis.
Yeah, they were.
So we're at the very forefront of the birth of medicalized approaches to delusion.
Yeah, we are way
other than
far
locking
away.
someone up and electroshock therapy and things,
Yes,
which is
ma'am.
its own house of
yeah,
horrors.
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. I had people I love.
Yeah.
It seems to me that, going through this stream, the main difference between the Pentecostal approach and the, Catholic approach is, and of course, when I'm speaking with about the Pentecostal approach, there is the huge asterisk of every church does it different. Mileage may vary because of how democratized the Pentecostal approach is to Jesus magic. Is while Pentecostal exorcisms are much more widespread, they seem to be milder.
By and large, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. And here's the thing, though, we don't know. This was just one case that exploded and shocked, even as Noodle pointed out, very Catholic by and large Germany in the 70s, and because it led to legal prosecution. It was so bad that it led to legal prosecution, and we know that.
To put it into perspective, we're talking about a country, Germany, where within hours of the first people starting to climb the Berlin Wall and take hammers to it, priests were saying mass.
Yeah,
it was like the first thing they did.
Yeah, as soon as they were allowed to openly, first thing.
Yeah, first thing they did. So there was obviously a very strong Catholic, history there. And in the rest of Eastern Europe as well, there's very, very strict Catholic churches. There's the standing thing of, if it wasn't for John Paul being elected, Solidarnosc would have never have happened. Which is, but they wouldn't have had the power they had, to put it that way, because they had the backing of the Pope. And because there was a Polish Pope, Lech Walesa et al. Were able to, they were able to act in a way where the world was watching, and therefore it was very difficult for the Russians to shut them up.
Yeah.
So Catholicism is really powerful in Europe.
It is.
And this is why I'm sure remembering when you were telling me about Pentecostal exorcisms.
Yeah.
Ring told me once that they'd been, I don't know if you've mentioned this, that you've been.
Yeah.
And Ring told me, and I was horrified because the mental image I had of an exorcism was Catholic exorcisms.
Yeah. Like chained to a bed usually, or
chained to a
wall.
Bed, whips and ropes, the whole 9 years. Like,
and not in a fun way, y'all.
Not fun.
No.
And burning candles and all that jazz. That was my mental image of an exorcism.
Yeah. People throwing holy water on you.
Yeah, people jumping on you while you. So no. So that's the thing. I think Catholic exorcisms are very violent. The one big thing as well with Catholic exorcisms is who can do them.
Yeah.
Because, and I think there's a reason for that, because the whole thing with, obviously, the whole point of Protestantism was that the laity can access the Bible. Like, it's very core. That was the origin of Protestantism.
Yeah, like the core of.
I'm not wrapping this up. We're not done yet.
Sects is the democratization of access to the divine.
Yeah,
I think that something I would comment on in terms of the differences is, Ring, you use the term mild. I feel like the process itself is more mild, but because of how Pentecostal exorcism is used, it's probably quite often
Yeah,
like
I will
very
say,
harmful just by how often it's used.
Well, I was about to, I was going to add the caveat of, while it's more physically mild, I still bear psychological scars. Like, I have trouble like I said before in the stream, and I'll say again, I still have trouble sitting through the obligatory Faith Healer episode of any Monster of the Week TV series.
Supernatural season 1.
Yeah, with the Faith. I think it was episode 5 or no, like episode 8 or something, Gav.
Or like episode 4 or 5 of the one season we got of Constantine with the angel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that season was good.
But the
sorry, I was bummed when they canceled that.
Yeah, I mean, what we hear in Europe of exorcisms, you've got to realize as well, we only hear the really extremely nasty stories. Yeah. Families who kept the kids locked up in the basement for years at a time, you know, people who've died and been really nastily treated. So there is that to an extent, but also the fact that the Catholic Church has actual exorcists that they still send out in the year of our Lord 2021, who pull off the shit, like how
it's
you've
crazy.
got to be some kind of, you've got to really, madness isn't madness if it's shared by the people around you, but at some point someone's got to look at it and say, hang on, you know, madness is a deviation from the norm, from a mental health point of view. Therefore, if you're surrounded by Catholics and they all believe this, you're not mad for believing it. You're just going with the group.
Yeah.
But even when I was, you know, even when I was Catholic, I found exorcisms a bit much. They were. I feel like that there's, I call it practice doublethink because it's the closest term I've come across, and I'm sure you'll be aware of this, Julie, where with Catholicism, where you can believe in all this mysticism and everything else, and yet still be a perfectly reasonable, logical, science-based person 99.8% of the time.
Yeah.
Mental
compartmentalization.
It's compartmentalization, but there's a real cognitive dissonance of when you try and make one thing to the other, and that's what things like transubstantiation and things like that. That's why people lose their faith in Catholicism a lot. Because they realize that there's a cognitive dissonance there, and they can't compartmentalize it.
Yeah, it is interesting because,
and honestly, good for them.
A lot of good on them. A lot of people that I know who are evangelical or who are Southern or Independent Baptist. I'm not talking NIFB, regular Independent Baptist, not even new Independent Baptist. It's just it's different anyway. Whatever. Basically, if Southern Baptist is too loosey-goosey for you, Independent Baptist. But they're a regular denomination of Baptists, like First or Second Baptist or whatever. And people I know who are in that, they for them, what causes a lot of cognitive dissonance and where they will just go willfully ignorant is biology class, because they can't bear to learn about evolution. As a Catholic, evolution didn't bother me. Because God has existed, evolution. Will always exist. If that's how he did it, that's how he did it. We don't know. It's a mystery. Move on. Like, it's fun. Like, that didn't cause any cognitive dissonance.
Were you given the tipped dominoes analogy for evolution?
I was not. Bang? I was given.
So I was taught that all science is true and real, but the way they put it, they said science is true and real, and the Big Bang Theory is like God had a string of dominoes, and God lined up the dominoes and then tapped the first one, and off it went.
Yeah, I wasn't told that, but yeah, I was.
Or the other
yeah.
one was because then I put my hand up and I said, well, why does evolution create people who have got, you know, serious illnesses, cancer, things like that?
Ooh, good
And I was
question.
given the buns in the oven analogy, which is God made all of us, and we are all an individual bun in a cake tray, and He's put us in. But some of us are going to come out a bit bigger, some of us are going to come out smaller, some of us are going to spill over the side, some of us are going to pop, some of us aren't going to rise, and that's what it is. So basically, God's a shit baker and doesn't know how to follow a recipe.
Yeah.
Is what I was being told.
Something. Ignore the omnipotence and omniscience.
Yeah.
I would like to
deistic.
I would also like to throw out that, like, I didn't actually realize that I'd been exorcised until I became Christo-pagan, because we use the term faith healings and casting outs, but it never clicked for me that that was exorcism, because I, like Noodle, connected it very much with the Catholic imagery of exorcism.
Yeah.
Thank you, movies, I guess, for that. Oh, shoot.
And the Catholic image of exorcism is very much head spinning, projectile vomiting, pea soup.
Yeah, it's very The Exorcist.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That is the Catholic image of an exorcism. That's what they have us believe it is, and that's why you'll find devout Catholics are so scared of demons, because that's the mental image they've got of demonic possession. That's what they expect it to look like.
Honestly, after seeing the images associated with this case, I'm much more scared of it now and worried about it happening to people. I
think because now I know that it's actually dangerous and it hurts people.
And this is a real.
Before I was scared of the demons, now I'm scared of the priests.
Yeah, now I'm scared of the priests, and I'm scared for the person. And I'm really, what really freaks me out is you hear a lot of cases about it happening to children, to underage people, to young children.
Yeah, and I was 12, 13, 14-ish.
Oh, that's too. No wonder it traumatized you. That's too young. And I mean, also it's a bad thing. It's a bad idea. It's a bad practice. All of it should stop. But I doubt we're achieving that anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I think certainly, if nothing else, churches, please consider that maybe not doing this to young people, to children. Just leave. Who am I? I'm asking the Catholic Church to do right by young children. I'm gonna stop.
I mean, I was first exorcised at age maybe 12.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I was exorcised at 2 years old when I was christened.
Oh, if we count christenings, that's a thing. I forgot about that for a second.
He's right. They're right. I forgot.
The baptism is an exorcism.
I'm gonna stop doing that. No, I forgot. You're right. Yeah. Yep. We are. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I was told that I screamed all the way through my christening, and therefore that meant I already had a demon in me.
Oh.
But by a crazy auntie who my parents basically told me don't listen to her, she's a weirdo. But yes, I screamed my way through my baptism, and most kids do. Because guess what? If you take a child or a toddler and dip them in fucking water and have an old man garbling mumbo jumbo over them, they're gonna scream because that shit's scary.
Yeah. Scary and cold.
That's just scary if you're a grown adult.
I'm sorry, that montage, there's a beautiful montage in The Godfather of a christening where it's overlaid with killings, and that to me is the exact vibe I get at christenings. Christenings have the Godfather christening vibe. You know, when Michael's being made Connie's son's godfather?
Yep.
It's that vibe. And they just, I refuse to go to christenings, full stop. I will do it.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'll go to a funeral before I go to a christening.
I will attend christenings simply because quite often it ends up being a social event and people don't realize I'm pagan and they ask if I pray over the baby and I ask if they're sure.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do that when I was neo-pagan and all of my Christian family was like, you know, I just say, is it okay if I pray for you? You know, I don't pray the way that you do. And so I would just ask permission first. And my sister would just, she can be so lovely. She would just say, anytime anyone says they're going to pray for me, I just say, thank you. So
yeah,
so I did a lot of rituals for my sister, my very Baptist sister.
Yeah, no, I'm just a great believer in that. You know, if you've got credit with some higher power and you want to spend that on me, have fun.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate any attempt to help.
I have the same thing, with the exception of I basically did a ritual to Yahweh and went, hey, so if anyone tries to do prayers to convert me, return to sender.
Yeah, return to sender, please. Return those to sender. Yeah. But if it's for my well-being or my health or anything, have at it. But don't try and convert me because it's not going to happen.
I'm still here. I just need to do something that is naughty for one's health, and I don't want to influence anyone. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be a better person.
Yeah.
Though I like, and another thing is like you know, like we can't tell the Catholic Church not to do exorcisms because it's big and powerful. Well, you can't really tell Pentecostals to stop doing exorcisms because when it comes to Pentecostalism, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can do an exorcism.
Mm.
Yeah, and that Noodle, do you still find that weird in your head a little bit? I find it weird.
I still find it weird that anyone can just
I would like to bring up that I performed exorcisms.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm going to mute. That's my fault.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to bring up that I performed exorcisms.
I just want to point out the closest Catholics as lay people get to exorcisms is there is a cut down version of last rites that anyone can give, and it's meant to be for emergency situations. You know, if someone's been hit by a car and they're dying, that kind of thing. Yeah, and the priest can't get there in time, and there's no priest to be found. That's the closest I think I would say Catholicism gets to any kind of exorcism that the lay person can do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can carry a rosary and you can pray the rosary over someone, but you don't expect that you are anywhere near. You go to a priest for that shit if you think there's a demon involved.
Yeah, I've also done a bit of Jesus magic.
I mean, to be fair, I went to a Christian thing and answered an altar call at Trinity Life Church. So, you know, been there, done that.
I'm trying. It really amuses me that I've had Christians from my mum's church approach me and ask if I will pray with them because they're feeling ill for their demons to be cast out as a pagan. And what do you say to that when you're in the broom closet?
You say, are you absolutely certain you wish to risk my calling down a deity who may not be appealing to your personal sensibilities?
Oh, I was in the broom closet, Noodle. What do you do there?
Yeah.
You say, yes, I'll absolutely pray with you. And then when they lift their hands and close their eyes, you walk away.
No, and then you pray in tongues to Loki.
I have done this before, Noodle. What Ring just referenced, it was a thing I brought up. I prayed in tongues as a Lokian at one point. That was a phase. I think, Noodle, you look slightly broken there. You okay?
I've got this. I'm just thinking because I know that historically one of my major patrons was this close to usurping Christianity. So I just pray to that one if a Christian says anything, because he's basically close enough.
Why didn't they
God.
win?
Because the Catholic Church didn't like snakes. Basically, that's why there's all the evil snake imagery in Christianity, because the deity they were going up against was Asclepius, and it was the snakes, the healing snakes.
Of course it was political. Of course it
Of
was.
course, it was political.
Yep. For Robert X, I will live to 220 just to spite whatever god that's in reference to.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, every time a Catholic does a sign of the cross, they're performing an exorcism. If you want to get really, really technical and pernickety.
Yeah,
No,
it depends
that's
how you
fair, 'cause
define
it's-
exorcism.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's protect me against whatever evil I'm crossing myself from. But like my mom, I think when she crosses herself whenever she drives past a Catholic church, it's not in that sense. She's just asking for a blessing.
That's a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can mean
Yeah.
different things, but she'll
But
do
yeah.
it when an ambulance goes by too, either
Yeah,
as a blessing
or
to the
when
person
you
in
see
the
a car
ambulance,
crash or something.
or as a glad that wasn't me. It's kind of both. It's like glad that wasn't me, and also I hope they're all right.
See, I never crossed myself, but I do still have a habit of occasionally I will find myself just kind of automatically touch my hand to my chest where the cross on my necklace used to sit.
I just made the sign. I just did it every time I was describing
Yeah,
instances.
I
I was
was
doing it
literally-
too. I can't help it. It's God, that shit.
I feel like
It's
that
like-
made me a weird Pentecostal.
Oh,
Or whenever,
I would
you got bad news, Julie, or whenever you got heard someone had died or anything, you do it because you were warding off the devil
Right.
from that moment while your soul was vulnerable from the grief or the shock of it or something.
Yeah.
There's still times where I think in tongues.
Wow.
Oh, that's a thing that happens, yeah.
Yeah.
I've mostly gotten out of that now.
Yeah.
I will say one time in my adult life, and I was a neo-pagan for nearly 20 years before I realized I was actually an atheist. And I'm not dissing neo-pagans when I say that. I'm really cool with you guys, you know that. But there was one time when I did say a rosary because something really, really horrible happened to a very dear friend of mine. And I was that freaked out and I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there are certain. I've found being polytheist. I have found myself searching for some kind of equivalent to a rosary, like prayer beads or something.
It's
there's
calming.
It's calming, and it is. It's just that repetitive motion and repetitive short phrase. I can still reel off my Our Father, my Hail Mary, my Glory Be.
Me too.
My mea culpa. I can still reel those off. I can probably go sit in a church now and say the mass along with the priest.
Yeah.
I
used to be able to do it. The thing you say right before confession, or you say at the end of confession.
Yeah, that I've sinned through my own fault, my own grievous fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noodle, remind me afterwards to talk to you about Kompoloi.
Okay, yep. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, sorry. I need to go back in. There's like yard work happening, planes flying over because we're just close enough to the airport. This is terrible. I apologize, Ring. I apologize to everyone in the chat too.
No problem.
No worries.
Is there anything else we haven't touched on?
I want to ask because I feel like there's something Pentecostals have done that Catholics haven't, or Protestants have done that Catholic hasn't. And it's kind of linked to the last point of the fact that the laity can perform exorcisms in Protestantism. I feel like that wasn't the case 300 years ago. Like, it's a major plot point, for example, in The Crucible, that they have to wait for the exorcist to arrive, the preacher to arrive. And they're obviously not Catholic, they're Puritans.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just something that Protestantism does in general. It's really good at modernizing really quickly.
So
or at least
something
the optics are really good at modernizing.
Well, something I've seen quite a bit is the idea that I think is probably a vestige of what you were referencing, Noodle, where it was like your prayers will be more effective if you get an elder in the church to say it with you.
Yeah.
And so, well, here's the thing, a couple hundred years back, we like the Protestantism in America was largely like extreme tweaks, was largely tweaks to Anglicanism.
Just that Anglicanism is quite, it's, I would say Anglicanism, coming from a Catholic background, to me, I look at Anglicanism and think that's actually quite progressive.
Well,
comparatively.
Yeah, but the tweaks being, were like steps back. Like the laity can, there is still that democratization of access to the divine, but there's stricter restrictions on what you need to do to be a true Christian. TM.
Right. TM. Yeah.
But as American history wrote on, we had a couple of things called great revivals, where we had explosions of a bunch of different denominations, and the Pentecostal and more charismatic sects leaned a lot more into the spiritual warfare, Jesus magic side of Christian doctrine and theology.
I didn't hear the end of that sentence. I had John the Revelator running through my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God! Can I just throw out there that actually my town where I live, or the village I live in, and then the adjacent town, there's actually a lot of the churches have connected, and they're trying to push a revival in the town, which is interesting.
Now, see, you can't
in Manchester.
No, in you know the smaller one, the town next to me, not the city.
Oh yeah,
that one. Though they've been going into Manchester too.
Now, see, to have a proper revival, what you need is you need to get a big old tent on someone's field outside of town, and that's how you get yourself a revival.
And then what you need is a black guy and two white guys to walk in with sunglasses because they've run out of gas. That's what you need.
Well, I just one quick point about the American expansion of what the laity can do and can't do. Obviously, that was kept very strict with Catholicism in America, but in Protestant denominations, and even I think the exemption that Noodle was talking about, where the offices of a priest can be performed by a layperson if there's no priest to be found. And at one point in our history, that was actually, at least in the U.S. Or the colonies, that was actually it went a bit further than just last rites. It even went as far as baptism.
Yeah, you can do baptisms.
Yeah, and in fact, my mother I was baptized twice because my mother baptized me because I was born in the middle of one of the worst winters we'd ever seen, and she couldn't get me to a priest for a very long time because we had a blizzard the day I was born, and then there was just so much snow it wasn't safe to drive to church, and my grandfather was calling every day, saying, "Rosemarie, you need to get that child baptized," because he was afraid I was going to die before I was baptized, and so she baptized me in the bathroom sink. And it was kind of born out of necessity, because when we were first colonies, things could be so sparsely settled. The next priest may not be allowed legally when we were under British rule to practice. There were states where you couldn't practice Catholicism, and so people had to do it kind of on the DL. And then there might be a priest, 200 miles away by horse,
which is easily a 4-day ride.
Right.
That's non-stop.
Fun fact. There was only one colony that was founded specifically to flee religious persecution.
Mm-hmm.
That was Rhode Island. They were fleeing religious persecution in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
From other Christians, but whatever. It's
See, this is the thing. Americans are all taught that the Puritans who arrived on the Mayflower were fleeing religious persecution. Please explain to me, please. Cromwell's in charge, and Puritans are the one being persecuted. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think they were being burned at the stake for being.
They weren't the ones being persecuted at that point. I promise you.
Oh yeah.
There was a reason Catholics were running to France and Spain in that era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, now I've just got a horrible history song going through my head, Noodle. God damn it. God fucking.
But yeah, no. Technically, lay people can perform baptisms and last rites in an emergency. Like to me though, like I went to schools that were so Catholic. To me, it was weird to see normal people standing up in the middle of Mass to help hand out the Eucharist. That was weird to me. It always felt less. It always felt like you were getting a lesser version of communion if you went to one of them rather than the priest.
All right. Wow. Yeah. You went to
even though they were. They are, they're basically deacons. They're the equivalent of a deacon, so they can give out communion. They just can't bless the host because that's the priest's job. Go on, you're going to say your one, aren't you?
I was a Eucharistic minister at my church here in Tennessee.
We didn't have Eucharistic ministers till I was about 8.
Okay, and my parents were Eucharistic ministers who were authorized to take the Eucharist to people who couldn't go to communion, so they would go to nursing homes and give people communion. And then also, I was also an altar girl before that was allowed.
I did a bit of altar service.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mostly did it at school during the school masses, but I did it, and it was very enlightening.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Now,
everyone thinks that bell comes from heaven. It's the altar boy or the altar girl in the background tapping away.
And I did, like, in my quick breeze through to basically confirm or deny my, because I pretty much figured that exorcism, when it comes to Pentecostals, is like it's a church by church thing, because everything in regarding to everything is a church by church thing in Pentecostalism.
I think that's just the nature of Protestantism, isn't it? Though.
Depends on the denomination.
Yeah.
Well, that's
some
the thing. If you've got so many denominations, it's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Usually, it'll cause a schism that will split a denomination.
Yeah. My experience is that a lot of quote unquote non-denominational churches tend to be actually Pentecostal if you look at what they're doing. And I think that's part of what makes practices so difficult to define, because they all want to be their own independent things, started by a minister in his front room or something.
It's almost like there isn't a commandment that says don't make God in your own image, isn't it?
Yes.
Sorry, that's the old Catholic sarcasm coming out in me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But
anyways, we're filthy idolaters, so
yeah, they when I was Catholic, it was they make God in their own image. That was the attitude towards Protestants. But we answer to the
it's
Pope,
in
and we
my-
have traditions, so it's not in our own image because our God, is long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, in my quick Google search of Pentecostal exorcism, which was basically just like a bunch of news articles of this one time this Pentecostal did an exorcism on X person in X podunk town in the Bible Belt. I came across a Guardian article about like a spike in exorcisms in the UK being brought about by immigrant communities from places that had Pentecostal outreaches from America.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, my university town had a Trinity Life Church and a Foursquare Church, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Oy.
Just to answer Rain's question in the chat of, so Catholic make God in the Pope's image, not ours. Yes, but the Pope's infallible, don't you know?
Well, only when he's sitting on the throne of St. Peter.
Only when he's sitting on the special chair, though.
Yeah, he has to be sitting on the special chair, wearing the special hat.
Yeah.
Wearing the special hat, sitting on the special chair.
Talk about some Jesus magic. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, real Jesus magic going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Jesus magic of the Vatican City.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
God. That's
Have you ever been?
That's a whole other show.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry, Noodle?
Have you ever been? And let me tell you something.
I went to the...
I say this repeatedly. There's a reason the Catholic Church is so rich, and it's not because heaven is cheap.
I have... I would like to let you know that I went to the Vatican when I was in the broom closet. as a Hellenist.
Same.
Me and my family decided, fuck it, let's try and do Rome in 4 days.
Fucking hell.
So one of the afternoons was the Vatican.
Yeah, I did the Vatican in an afternoon once, and according to my step counter at the time, I walked 70 miles that day.
Oof.
Ooh, I can believe that.
I hope you were in good shoes.
I was in very good shoes, but I was still aching at the end
Jesus,
of it.
of course you were.
I have no idea, because I started at like 8:30 in the morning, and I left the Vatican. I stepped off St. Peter's Square at about 6:30 in the evening.
So that was fast.
So it was because I'd been there like 14 hours.
Well, yeah, but still, I'm talking about to get 70 miles in 14 hours.
5
you were
miles
you
an
were
hour,
still
isn't it?
you were still
Going
hoofing
quite
it.
fast, yeah. But I was doing other stuff in between as well.
Over a tenth of the way to being a proclaimer.
Yeah. I would not walk 500 miles for Jesus. I would not walk that far again for Jesus. I was there purely from a historical and art appreciation point of view. Because I got to the end of the tour. I genuinely got to the end of the tour, and they said, right, you've got the option to go down to the catacombs now. And I just thought, if I go down to the catacombs, they're going to have to leave me there because I'm going to die. I need to sit down.
Yeah.
I literally looked at them and said, what, are you taking us down there so we can just die somewhere out of sight? Is that the point here? It was just ridiculous.
I'd be so bummed because I was such a goth Catholic. I would be so bummed. I'd be like, why didn't we get to go there first?
Yeah, I wanted to go down because I was going to go down because obviously John Paul's down there and Polish. Even when I'm not Catholic, I'm still Polish, you know. But I physically couldn't do it. You know, when you just know you've had enough.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing, you know that great quote, the Bible didn't come by facts from heaven?
Yeah.
I have an answer to that quote now. It didn't have to come by fax because the Vatican post office is fast. I sent a postcard from the Vatican post office on Thursday afternoon. It made it to England by Saturday morning.
Wow.
I landed in England on Saturday night and it was already in England. That's how, and that was just standard post. It was like €1 to send a postcard. And I sent my mum a postcard. Well, no, not my mum, my dad, a postcard from the Vatican. And it was like, it was mind-blowing how quick it was. And I was like, surely at least Royal Mail should have slowed it down by about a week. But apparently not.
That's amazing.
Sorry, I just read was literally it was that fast, and you can walk into the Vatican post office and you can buy rosary, but it's basically a gift shop. It is the Vatican gift shop.
Yeah.
I don't think you can blue tack it like the real Jesus stomach.
That was amazing. I've actually never heard that before. That was great.
Yeah, so Godspeed letter. No, but literally, the funny thing about the Vatican is, at the post office when I was there was an ATM machine outside next to the post box. There's an ATM machine, but it wasn't a regular ATM machine. It was a gold bullion ATM machine like they have in places like Dubai. You could literally take out gold bullion bars at the Vatican if you had the money. And I was just like, what? I'd never seen one before. I was so confused.
Stop it.
Yeah.
God damn it. Okay.
And this was when gold, for a small piece of gold like that, was about £1,000.
Now you see, Jesus, he needs me to get a jet.
No.
God,
What the Vatican needs is to drill out that lapis lazuli they've got on the floor.
Oh.
I swear, you could sell maybe 1/100th of the stuff that the Vatican's got and end world poverty tomorrow.
Yeah, and while Mother Teresa was, happily allowing people to just suffer in her death houses with no adequate access to proper medicine or even like sterilized needles, that the church totally could have paid for all of that, didn't. And there's this constant appeal to give so that monasteries and convents and all this shit can keep going. And then you talk about, it's just sickening how much wealth.
And I went there. I went to the Vatican just after the closing of the Jubilee.
Oh God.
Yeah. Now, if you want to talk about exorcisms and this whole thing of how it's bound up with sin and everything else, let's talk about paying for prayers and all the rest of it.
Oh yeah.
And
my mom donates to a monastery regularly to have prayers said for my soul.
I mean, there are still schools in the UK, and I'm sure Sam can attest to this. There are still universities and schools in the UK who have scholarships because people have donated to their chapel in perpetuity.
Well,
to have prayers in perpetuity or to have a scholarship. Yeah. And there are still genuinely people going to Oxford and Cambridge on scholarships that were paid for in the 1500s.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or in the infamous words, paraphrase of Martin Luther, if you got problems with sin, I got news for your son. I've got 95 theses, but indulgences ain't one.
That's awesome.
I love it. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. If someone's possessed by a demon because they're sinful, why doesn't the church just grant them an indulgence? Why all the theatrics?
Indulgences aren't... Well, so...
Aren't they passe?
So Julie, you said, like, in Catholicism, you're more, like, the holier you are, the more likely you are to be possessed, right?
Yeah, and then Noodle has said some things that are in direct contradiction to that. So I now know, Noodle got a lot more catechism than I did because I went to public school.
I had to go to catechism, yeah.
I had to go to PRE, which is Parish Religious Education. I had to go to that one night a week. And it was either Wednesdays or Sundays, depending on which parish we were in. Yeah. But so I only got catechism one night a week.
I got it every day at
They
school for
got it.
16 years.
Exactly.
18 years
So
even, yeah.
I'm going to defer to what Noodle has to say about that.
Well, the way I was taught possessions work, and as with anything, is when you sin, if you don't go to confession and you make your penance and gain your forgiveness, you open the door and become more vulnerable to demons. This was what I was taught.
Okay.
However, you become more vulnerable to them, therefore you're more likely to be possessed. However, if you are a good Catholic, the stronger demons will target you, because you then become kind of all the we got that one. The demons will target you because you're so good. So they kind of play both. They play it off. It's any excuse, basically. There's an excuse.
It can go both ways, like so
Yeah.
many of us. Yeah.
Can Noodle, can I pick your brain about this? What would happen if we took some of the Pope's holy water and turned it into turnips? Could both Catholics and Hellenists use it?
Well, technically, all holy water is water that's been blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And as Julie said, her mum baptized her in a kitchen sink. So you can bless a tap any day of the week. And really all you have to do is this over. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe Sam said turnips, Rain.
Turnips, which is old. Yeah, it's for those who don't know, it is a purification water used in Hellenistic rituals.
Oh, yeah. Nope, I did not know that. I heard a vegetable.
I mean, for me, turnips is holy water. So for me, it's just, do you really want Yahweh getting involved in your rituals?
This is valid.
That's yeah.
I mean, my general attitude is holy water is holy water. I have some water from Cornwall that I blessed just because fuck it.
Yeah, and my dad's got some loads of water over at his house that a friend of mine brought back for my mum. But holy water is holy water. It doesn't matter whether the Pope blessed it or whether a priest did it or a layperson did it. Holy water is holy water.
So, like, I think that like Pentecost, like Protestants don't really have a concept of blessed items or like the closest thing Pentecostals have to holy water is oil, because with the anointing of oil, the anointing with oil is a big bit of the laying on hands. Even then it's not really that necessary.
There is one thing I will point out that I am still convinced. Now, it's a really old practice in Catholicism. It's not well known in the Catholicism I was raised in, but I want to know if Julie is aware of scapulars.
Yeah. I did a video.
I have a friend who wears these, and that wasn't something that was part of my church experience at all. I didn't even know what they were. To me, scapula was the thing the priest wore, not something a layperson wore.
It's my understanding of it, and I might be wrong, but this is how my great aunt Angie explained it to me, because she wore them, and she we were at brunch with every time we went to visit my mother's family, all of the aunts, my mother's aunts and my mother's sisters, and all of us, all the chicks basically went to brunch. It's a very gendered thing, and we like so many things in Catholicism, it was very gendered. But we'd all go to brunch. It was very nice. We'd all go to brunch together, and so my aunt Angie said that word, and I was like, what's that? I don't know what that is. And she looked at me and then she looked at my mom like, you're doing something wrong. I don't know. But she pulled out, but she went on. She's a very sweet, kind lady. She said, oh, it's here you go. And she pulled it out, and it had a saint on one side, and it had Jesus, I believe, on the other side. And it's just a laminated thing, a little card on a yarn It's kind of like a holy card, but tiny.
Yeah,
And-
it's like I mean, you can get it. Believe it or not, there are Catholic. If you ever want to buy a gift for a Catholic, buy them a key ring that says, "I'm Catholic. Don't call an ambulance. Call a priest."
Oh God. Yeah.
And you can actually get those. You can get official
you can.
ones.
It's such a
which
bad
is just,
idea.
Yeah.
I thought I have one somewhere, but it's not in my drawer. Anyway, but the point is that as my Aunt Angie explained it, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, a scapula, if you're wearing it when you die, it's a one-way ticket to heaven, whether you've had a chance to confess your latest sins or not.
Yeah, basically.
It's
a get out of hell free card.
It is, yeah.
Which
kind of makes no sense, but okay.
Yeah, the tradition I grew up in, it was Catholic cross. You always wore a cross.
Yeah, crucifix as
now,
opposed to a cross.
A crucifix, not a cross.
Yeah.
A crucifix has got Jesus on it. A cross is empty.
Gotta have the dead guy on a stick.
Yeah, dead guy on a stick. I'll have mine extra crispy, please.
But so
pre-zombie.
They can only get you if you've sinned, but they also like the stronger ones target the most holy, the best Catholics. Reminds me of the Pentecostal demonic paradox, where they are so powerful that they will get you if you do anything wrong, but they are also weak enough that you can just drive them out by saying the right words and then speaking in gibberish.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, the way I like to think of it is that Yahweh is the DM if we consider Catholicism, and the demons are just progressively tougher the higher your holy status.
Did you see? I had, when I was younger, a friend of mine went away for a weekend with her parents and came back and brought me back a little thing, a little plastic thing that had a little cross in it. And I want to see who reacts when I say, I carry a cross in my pocket as a simple reminder to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's vague. That's from childhood.
Yeah, that's a Christian thing, but Catholics use it as well.
Yeah.
And I think the poem goes, I carry a cross in my pocket as a simple reminder to me of the fact that I am Christian, no matter where I may be. This little cross is not magic, nor is it meant to be a good luck charm. It isn't meant to protect me from every physical harm. It's not for identification for all of the world to see. It's simply an understanding between my Savior and me. Yeah. When I put my hand in my pocket to bring out a coin or a key, the cross is there to remind me of the price he paid for me. It reminds me to be thoughtful for my blessings day by day and to strive to serve him better in all I do and say. It's also a daily reminder of the peace and comfort I share with all who know my master and all who give themselves to his care. So I carry a cross in my pocket of a simple reminder to me that Jesus Christ is Lord of my life, if only I'll let him be. Now, I was given that at 7 years old.
I believe it, because you still
and I still remember it. And I still remember it.
I have very much avoided.
There are 4 poems I know by heart. That one. Can't sleep anywhere, any table, any chair, top of piano, window ledge, in the middle, on the edge, open drawers, empty shoes, anybody's luck will do. Sitting in a cardboard box, in the cupboard, with your frocks, anywhere, they don't care, can't sleep anywhere. When I went out, the sun was hot, it shone upon my flower pot, and there I saw a spike of green that no one else had ever seen. On other days, the things I see are mostly old except for me, except this spike so new and small has never yet been seen at all. And there was another one I was taught at a young age as well.
Would it be
a bedtime prayer or something?
See, do you also happen to know an epicure dining at Crewe?
Oh no, I did know for a long time. I knew the Owl and the Pussycat by heart.
Kitty. Sorry.
But
okay.
We're starting to wander off topic.
No, but the reason I say that is because what I'm getting at is, you know how we were talking about how they mind fuck you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do, and you were talking about don't do it to kids. The problem is the church will never give up on doing things like that to kids, because kids are the next generation and they target kids deliberately. It's not an accident that they do it to kids.
Yeah. Something indoctrination's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Jesus loves the little
Oh,
girl.
no, damn it. That's going to be in my head.
Hey, at least you haven't got
Sorry.
Colours of Day in your head.
I've
I had
been
that
See, now my brain is now going, Jesus' hands were kind hands.
See, mine's just gone, shine, Jesus, shine.
That too. Oh, God. I used to be part of the worship band at my high school, so now I'm just getting all of the memories.
Oh, yeah.
Julie, do not be afraid.
Oh.
I,
Wait. And he will raise you up
You up
on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn,
So you can
make
sing
you
in
to
tune, I
shine
think.
like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand.
Do you remember what was the number one hymn in your hymn book?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Was yours Abba
I knew
Father
them all
at
by
number
heart,
one?
so I never looked at the numbers.
73 was Do Not Be Afraid.
Yeah, do not be afraid.
64 I think was Colours of Day, but don't quote me on that. It might have been 23.
Okay.
This is how much I remember it.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to a church to sing a hymn in over 10 years.
See, I remember 114 was Lord of the Dance, 127 was Abba Father.
I did like.
There was
Lord
another
of the Dance.
version. Yeah.
That's a fun song.
Was Christ the Redeemer about 97 or something?
I don't freaking know.
For me, I think it was in the 80s.
I didn't pay it. Yeah, mine was in the 80s, but I didn't pay attention to the numbers because I memorize songs easily because my family's very musical.
Yeah,
I'm the least talented musical.
Yeah,
person
I cannot
in
hold a tune. I cannot hold a tune.
That's all I can do. All of my siblings can play multiple instruments. My dad.
I know I can play instruments, but I can't hold a tune when I'm singing Full of No Money.
So I'm sorry.
Sorry, Jump Shop.
But I am also sorry for the next two words I'm going to say. Awesome God.
No, fuck.
Oh,
no. That's gonna be in my head for the rest
of the day. That was the number one song.
Ring.
Number one Christian earworm.
Yeah.
Ring. I present for your consideration 1,000 Reasons for My Heart to Find.
Never heard of
that one. I don't know.
I know that one. Yeah. What was the other one?
Yes. Let the hate flow through you.
Literally, I'll tell you the kind of culture I grew up in, right? I will go to a Caribbean-run nightclub and guarantee you at 2:30 every morning how great thou art.
How great! Oh, dang! The church on the corner
in a nightclub.
The little that's better than what I'm about to say, but the church on the corner up here with its beautiful little red door, it's so cute, and I love it. I've loved it. Its architecture because we live in a neighborhood really close within walking distance of our university that we
is
both
it
went
one
to.
Of those bird churches?
I don't know what that means. Bird church?
When you look at them from a certain angle, they look like they've got eyes and a beak.
No. It's just really cute. I don't know. It's got this pretty red door with like iron, the black iron hinge, kind of ornate, going to the hinges, and it's just pretty. But they hit their bells every hour on the hour. I know now that I live down the street from them, and the bells play a hymn every hour. And it's a Protestant church, so sometimes different ones. So sometimes it's a Protestant church, so sometimes I don't know the hymns, but more than often I do. And it's like, oh God, okay. So
I just
luckily we can't hear it when we're inside, so it's okay.
It is a really weird one because it was always. And I think as well with Catholicism, I think it all feeds into a lot of the ways Catholicism does things, feeds into how the exorcisms goes. Now, how you were saying Annalisa had broken knees from genuflecting so much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do not go, if I'm going to pray, I do not need to be going up and down like a hose knickers.
Fair.
It
took me a second to get past the phrasing, but yeah, fair.
But yeah, and it's up and down, and it's all designed to just exhaust you and keep you mentally occupied to stop you questioning anything.
Yeah,
and it's yeah.
Alternatively, we could get Ring to 200 subscribers so that then Ring has to tell embarrassing stories in revenge.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's going now. I can hear it.
Oh God,
They've
which hymn is
invaded
it?
The house.
See,
Oh, no.
They rung the bell and you said, "Oh God," they did their job. It worked.
Something else I'll probably never stop doing.
Did you ever have the Christian preacher, pastor person who would say to you, "Don't say oh God," because every time you hear oh God, he goes, "What? What?
Yeah,
Oh
no,
God,
I
what?
never had that. But
Don't take the Lord's name in vain because you'll distract him."
One of my early experiences with Protestants, because like I said, grew up in a big Catholic family. A lot of my friends were Catholic. So it was, but I went to public school. So I did start meeting non-Catholics, in kindergarten. And then, but one of the first things one of their parents ever said to me was, I said, "Oh God," because Catholics say "Oh God" all the time. And it's not a big deal. Like they don't say Jesus Christ as much as like people just colloquially do in general. But but "Oh God" is not considered blasphemy in Catholicism, at least not to my knowledge.
It is, but it's not.
It is, but nobody cares. I don't know. Yeah, nobody cares. It's not considered like taking God's name in vain or whatever.
There's blasphemy and then there's blasphemy TM.
Yeah. So, but one of their parents was like, "You just took the Lord's name in vain," and I was like, "But God isn't the Lord's name." And then he just looked at me like I was nuts, and I looked at him like, "What?" And that's all I remember of that.
I am going to put that message up that I just put. I'm going to upset everyone. The one hymn that everyone knows.
No, it'll lie.
Yeah. Or better still, do you remember being a kid and having to learn the Latin for Gloria in Excelsis?
Oh, actually I loved that because we sang it in my public school choir because sacred music was okay. Gloria in Excelsis Deo. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mark, Jesus' middle name isn't fucking, it's H.
Harold.
Jesus H. Christ.
I like Hitch, but that's great though.
No, I don't know. I still like Kentucky Fried Christ.
Christ, yes, but Christ on a bike gets to you faster when you call him.
Oh dear. See, Noodle, I don't know if you'd have had this one, but did you ever have Lighthouse as one of the songs you learned as a kid?
It rings a bell.
My lighthouse, my lighthouse. Oh, that's going to be in my head for the rest of the evening.
No, I'd be good at my school with Shine Jesus Shine.
You said Lighthouse, but my mind went to Life Song by Casting Crowns.
I see. Oh, Life Song, I'll be completely honest, is one of a half dozen songs that... So that for the sake of this not getting demonetized, I'm going to say Saved My Life.
Yeah. No, I will say...
worth it.
I knew I was in a weird-ass Christian church when I went and they played Jesus Take the Wheel. I knew I was in a weird-ass American Christian church when that happened.
If you need some help, if you need to just kind of knock that out of your brain a little bit, listen to Anna Bosnick's parody of Jesus Takes the Wheel. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
I have
3 wooden crosses. As not Christian as I am, 3 wooden crosses still makes me cry.
I have a couple that get me.
I grew up
Amazing
in
Grace.
a church where the pastor, one of the youth leaders, and one of the elders who did speaking were all songwriters. So we had at least a dozen songs that were specific to our group of churches.
Listen, any song that is credited to Hillsong,
Now,
I can't. I can't.
That was half my church's playlist.
Exactly. Why do you think I can't?
Moose. Yeah, Hillsong, Casting Crowns, and there's someone else who my brain's forgetting, were the big ones for my church.
If we're
Ave Maria.
if we're dipping our toes at all in Christian bands that kind of made it onto regular radio occasionally, I may or may not have bought the first Jars of Clay album in the 90s. may or may not.
Flood still rocks.
It
I'm
does,
doesn't it?
Hey,
Flood
Julie,
still rocks.
let's see how Catholic Julie is. Do you still remember your Hail Mary in Latin?
I never learned it in Latin. I was totally, my parents very much supported Vatican II. I've never been to a Latin mass in my life.
I haven't been to a Latin mass, but I know my Hail Mary in Latin because we used to sing Ave Maria regular.
Duh. then yes, technically I do. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum,
Whoop, nope.
benedicta. Blah.
Oh, you lost me. No, I don't know it, but I have sung
the thing is, since I had to learn that, I've now since learned classical Latin. So the grammar of liturgical Latin just drives me up the wall.
Fair. I have to assume fair because I don't know either. But yeah, we used to sing every year. We had this thing where all the choirs in the public high schools came together and did a Christmas thing. Off campuses, but we did it, and the whole, I mean, it was huge. There were like 300 young people singing on stage, and then all of their families. It was a huge venue. I forget where we did it, but all the schools would perform, the choirs would perform individually, and then or chorus, sorry, chorus, secular chorus, singing sacred music all over. And so the finale was always all of the schools got together on stage, on the bleachers and down, and all the sections, soprano, soprano 2, alto, tenor, bass, all that. And we sang the Hallelujah chorus, and every year we all cried. It was just so moving.
It's the feeling of,
and that moment. And this is why we sing, and we are social animals, and singing is part of that. And that music is freaking powerful. And it's not the Holy Spirit, and it's not God, it's music, and it's people. It's making that music, that in time and in harmony with that many other people. Not a dry eye on stage. I don't know about in the audience, but I have my suspicions.
Yeah, no, like when you're at a funeral and they play Amazing Grace, I can't get to the end of the first verse of Amazing Grace.
Oh,
I can't.
For me, funerals, it's on Eagle's Wings, and it's because that was my grandfather's favorite. And
the Lord is my shepherd as well. I remember, like in the UK in the early 2000s,
and Ave Maria.
There was Pop Idol, and Will Young won Pop Idol with a version of Evergreen.
Wow.
And that song went to number 1.
Okay.
Then about a decade later, who was it who did it with Hallelujah? Alexandra Burke did it with Hallelujah, and again, the Leonard Cohen. Hallelujah.
I
went to number 1.
Christmas Cohen's Hallelujah is.
I will quickly throw out though that song is not a Christian song.
It's subversive.
No, it's not.
I'm sorry. I tried to say AF, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's specifically a Jewish song, and it was written that way. And I only bring it up for anyone who didn't know this because it bugs me when people say it's a Christian song.
It's not. It's definitely not a Christian song. But that went to number 1, and Evergreen went to number 1. So it baked into the culture here. Like it was. I was that kid. I saw Rain mention in the chat earlier how the songs will get stuck in your head and you'd be singing them in the playground. Literally singing hymns in the playground. And everyone thought I was really devout. I was like, no, I've just got it stuck in my head. I can't get it out.
Well, like, I'm different because, walking near, like, a church, if it's, walking in or near a church that's similar to the churches I went to growing up, that causes a trauma reaction.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Virtual hugs.
Yeah.
Hugs. But I just also Away in a Manger. Every Christmas I get that stuck in my head whether I like it or not.
Well,
freaking everywhere. And when a child is born, that one as well.
You know, the one that will get me though, in terms of like still emotionally hits for me is oh wow, nope. Apparently not that hard because it just went right out of my head. I'll think of it. Little Drummer Boy. I don't know.
It's the backing track to Little Drummer Boy. It is the backing track.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Though I will.
Tori Amos did a cover of it once that just slays me. Go ahead.
The Jars of Clay cover of Drummer Boy is a bop as well.
I will say though, Away in a Manger and Holy Night, if either of those are sung in key, they don't sound right.
Yes, because you're so used to hearing 5-year-olds sing them out of key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But absolutely, when I talk about how Catholic my school was, in the 5 years I was in high school, from 11 to 16, they did Songs of Praise twice. Did my school.
Or
so yeah.
I was one of those people who like watched Glee and was like, why didn't my high school band ever get to, or high school chorus ever get to do this stuff?
Oh no, they only ever did Songs of Praise, but it was a big thing when they did Songs of Praise.
I'm sorry.
Scummer, but Cliff Richard has done both of those songs. But yeah, Cliff Richard's voice at Christmas, I've still got a Cliff at Christmas album somewhere. That was my mum's.
Yeah.
I as polytheist as I am and as anti-Christian as I am, on Christmas Eve when Cliff starts playing, I become an uber Catholic all over again. It can't be helped.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
I think this may amuse everyone here because it's completely out of character for my church, but my church used to play, what's it called now? The one that had some controversy around it, because it includes the use of the word faggot, which I will use because I use it to refer to myself.
Oh yes, you mean the Pogues. You mean the Pogues, Fairy Tale of New York City.
Yes, that's the one. The name escaped me. My church growing up actually played that on Christmas, and that was really out of character.
Yeah, no, I will say as well, the Millennium Prayer, you're probably too young to remember, Sam, the Millennium Prayer went to #1 in the UK. And that was a Cliff Richard song. And that's just Cliff Richard singing the Our Father with an extra verse in there about let all the tribes of all the world sing together, basically.
I know the Millennium Prayer.
It's the Anglican version because it's thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory.
Yeah.
I
know it. I just wasn't cognizant when it.
But again, this religious stuff, it really permeates. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a Christmas album that's ever released, compilation album, that doesn't have something religious on it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and that's fine.
I mean,
we
that's
still
fair.
at least
Christmas is a religious.
Yeah, we still at least pretend it's religious in the UK. It's more cultural than anything at this point, but
yeah.
Like I culturally celebrate Christianity, but one of my partners has insisted that they're not going to get me a Christmas card because they know I don't celebrate it religiously.
Well, tell them to get you one that says Saturnalia on it and be done with it.
Yeah, or Yule, or whatever.
They're going for a Yule card, but their mum has insisted that they're going to go out of their way to make me a Yule card because they can't find them.
Yeah, no, it's like because my dad's Catholic, and the Polish set a lot of stock on Christmas Eve. So
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, if
Yeah.
I'm not working, I'll go over to my dad's. We'll have hot chocolate. We'll look out for the first star. We'll do all of that. But
We
it's
have a
not a
lot
religious
of-
thing. It's just a cultural thing.
Yeah, we have a lot of
I-
traditions too. Like we have some German stuff, like on St. Nicholas Day, which I think is the 9th of December. My
So,
mom would always put nuts and oranges in our shoes when we were
Mhm.
growing up. So now she sends us, if we're not physically if we can't get to their place, I'll end up with a tiny package in the mail that's like walnuts and chocolate and oranges. Yeah, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say all of this, and I still absolutely maintain if I tried to walk into a church, he would climb off his cross and walk out.
I play a more subtle game where I kind of feel like the holiness of I say this semi in jest. The holiness of a church bends around me, making it appear to anyone who can see the Holy Spirit as though I'm holy.
Yeah,
Because
it gives you an
whenever
aura.
because whenever I walk into a church, without saying anything, someone will come up to me and say they can see that I'm a devout Christian.
Oh, so
I'm sorry.
It's the hair, Sam. It's
It
got
was
to be the
loud.
hair.
so here
You do have
here-
fabulous hair.
okay, so talking about like, you know, the whole discerning of spirits thing.
Oh yes, please.
Fun anecdote. It was like either before, like I think it was before the Celebrate Recovery thing, while I was like helping babysit for that, or it was like before a youth group or something, you know. And I was into the Dresden. Well, I still am into the Dresden Files, but I was blazing through them.
Right there with you.
And I can't remember which one I was on, maybe Deadbeat, you know, somewhere around the middle of the series.
Mhm.
Little old church lady comes up and like starts telling me off about how I'm reading an evil book and how she sees an evil aura around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good hallucination, grandmother. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, see, this is. I want to know if I'm completely like my church was nuts here. Ring, did you ever have a Christmas exorcism?
Sorry.
Midnight Mass.
Sorry. I just went, what?
Yeah.
Midnight Mass is pleasant. Hang on. They're Christmas exorcism.
The word exorcism just tracks differently to us, doesn't
It
it?
really
Jill?
does.
Nothing special though. If I remember right, once a year there would be like a special night of prayer where people would like gather at the church and try and stay up all night praying.
That's keeping a vigil.
yeah, that
keep
does-
the midnight, the Christmas vigil.
Yeah, and
No,
the
Well, it wasn't around.
my
I don't think it was around
No.
Christmas. I think it was a different type of year. Or
I'm going to
different
give you
time
all
of
the
year.
wrong impression when I say I've done that. I have participated in the adoration, but we did it in shifts. It's basically where
Yeah.
you stay all night, so you never leave the consecrated
Yeah.
Eucharist, which is Jesus alone, and it's representative of when the apostles left him alone in the garden. We don't leave him alone, so somebody
Yeah.
is there 24/7, and it is very quiet and very meditative. But like I said, we did it in shifts, so you didn't have
yeah.
to stay up all
So to clear up for anyone who's confused when I say Christmas exorcism, we
Yes,
used to
please.
have we used to have a whole like big it's Christmas, let's do a face healing thing every few years.
I'm sorry.
Like Christmas is the time of giving and everyone's minds are on God, and Lent and not Lent, sorry, fuck.
Advent.
Advent.
That's the one. And Advent, and so as part of Advent, on one of the Sundays, we used to hold like a breakfast and then effectively a big laying on hands for anyone who fell ill because of the demons.
Also, pro tip for any polytheists or Wiccans or anything else: if you want purple candles, buy them in November. They'll be cheap because they'll all be on sale for Advent.
It's true.
Yeah. The thing at my
Also,
church
red
is,
candles, red pills,
And white
candles.
ones.
you know, there wasn't
pink
any
ones.
kind of special service set aside for faith healing / exorcism. That being said, it came kind of as a package deal at the end of every service, and every retreat included a block of time, like a giant ass altar call for people to get healed.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, of course, it was never framed as a Christmas exorcism, but that is, when you look at it, what it was.
I just wanted. I want a card. I want a card that's all glittery and is like, "Happy Christmas exorcism." I might make one this year. It's just, I mean, it's so incongruous. It's delightful.
That's just the exorcism Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, like the one is like, and the other is like, oh,
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
The
memories.
power of
Yeah.
baby Jesus compels you.
Baby Jesus was
Wait,
fucking
wait,
terrifying. Have you
wait,
read
wait.
the infancy gospel of Thomas?
Oh gosh.
But we've been streaming for over 3 hours.
Yeah, this is starting to
Yeah.
deteriorate. We should probably stop.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, so
It's
final
my
thoughts.
fault. I can't go anywhere. You can't take me anywhere.
Yeah.
Me neither.
It's my fault.
I'll talk your ears off.
Yeah. Final thoughts on the topic at hand.
Exorcism is bad, and especially the Catholics should stop doing it because Noodle pointed out they do it more violently and it kills people. And psychologically scars them for life.
Yeah.
That's
Exorcisms are for like this is the 21st century. Go see a fucking doctor.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
Go see a doctor. Go see a psychiatrist. Not a cannibal one, please.
And
Go see whoever you need to see, a neurologist. Get a CT scan. If someone tells you that there are demons possessing you or that God has cursed you, that person probably should go see a doctor as well, but with a different appointment to you.
Yeah.
Nice point. Yes.
That's the polite way of putting it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Sam, final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that I'm going to need to exercise these Christmas songs from my brain. It's still spooky season.
It is spooky season. Here we go. This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Or
Yes,
that'll help.
spooky, scary skeletons send
Send
shivers down your
in your
spine.
spine.
Love it.
We're so sorry, skeleton. You're so misunderstood.
I was about to get. Okay.
Yeah, also, just to be clear, make sure your therapist is actually a secular therapist and not a Christian counselor.
Yes.
Yeah.
If needs be, look at the Secular Therapy Project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
Yes. Amen.
Counselor is not a protective term.
if
Psychiatrist is. Psychotherapist is.
if
Anyone
your-
can be a counselor.
Yeah, if your counselor has a bottle of oil on their shelf, if your counselor has a bottle of oil on his shelf, you should probably run.
Run. The guy who created the Catholic Exorcism app I talked about earlier has a degree in psychology. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a bit yikesy.
That hurt. That hurt to read. That hurt.
That's yikes.
Yep.
But
That is very yikes.
yeah.
Sorry, bring it down.
So Shilling.
Oh, shiza. Okay, you guys, I'm trying. Oh, I've also been told that I tend to
Okay,
get really
hold on.
loud over
Um,
everybody. So
Rain wants to know why. Because
Oh.
anointing with oil is part of the Pentecostal exorcism process.
and also
It's
Mormons
basically
use
the
it for
Protestant
business.
version of holy water because anointing with oil is actually in the Bible.
Yeah. Okay. So Shilling, guys, I'm trying. I'm trying. I've thought about shutting down my channel. I don't want to do that. I really want to keep it going. So I'm doing my best, working 50 to 60 hour weeks. I'm doing my best. But you guys know what a struggle it was last year when we were unemployed, because God knows I bitched about it enough. So I like money. I like having a roof and food in the kitchen, all those things. So I'm gonna keep doing that, and I will keep up with the channel as best I can. And I apologize. And hey, if you don't want to be a patron, it's fine. No hard feelings to anybody. I get that the quality is not what it used to be, and the patron content is certainly very sluggish and random. Yep. So it's okay. And that's it. Because I have to move Wine and Reason to a new night, because Tuesdays I work from home and I'm like always still working, and I look up and I'm like, oh, it's 8:00. Shut. I didn't even set anything up. I don't have a topic. So yeah, I'm going to try and move it. Sorry, that is important. Going to try and move it to a new night. I'll let you know when on Twitter when I can.
Okay. Noodle.
Nothing much by way of Shilling. You all know me. Follow me on Twitter. Follow whatever Ring's doing. Get Ring to 200, and then I'll join. I tell you what, I'll do a special deal. If you get Ring to 200 by the end of next week, I'll join the embarrassing story stream and remind Ring of all the things they will forget to tell you.
That's fantastic.
Well, I don't know, because I did promising to get drunk, didn't do it.
Yeah, but they all know I know all the embarrassing stories about you.
I think I don't know. No, actually no, I have no opinion. Never mind. I really don't. I thought I had one. I started to say it, but I don't. Go ahead.
And Sam?
So I was starting to get back into a regular pattern with being able to upload. But then the government's been on my ass, and I've been spending 50 hours a week trying to fix that. So I will get back to you when I can. For Noodle's confused face, I'm trying to sort universal credit. They've got me on an intensive job searching thing. And Pip.
Oh, hell.
And they've locked me out of my... And they've locked me out of my government gateway.
Are they speaking English, Ring? I don't...
Yes, but they're not speaking American.
They're speaking English, but not American.
They're speaking commie English.
If you need a hand, Sam, give a shout. I've been through the universal credit Pip thing. I've been there, done
Cheers. Cheers. So hopefully, once I finally get past this, I'll be able to put out content regularly again. But until that point, it's going to be hit and miss as to when I'm able to upload.
Yeah.
So next week will be a hiatus week for me for both secular D&D and for Media Musings, because I'm gonna go see Dune in theaters, and also other reasons.
Oh, that's right. You told us about that ages ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about yesterday. I tried to get home earlier.
Well, we also had another player who couldn't make it, so.
Yeah, but I was just talking about me. I wasn't going to talk about anybody else.
So next episode will be our next secular D&D will be the 30th, and then on the 31st we are going to do the aliens episode of Media Musings, or the alien episode of Media Musings.
Totally wearing my Halloween costume, by the way.
Yeah.
Just FYI, you can see it then, everybody. I'm not even going to tell you what it is.
As long as it doesn't jump out of your chest midstream, I'll be fine.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh shit! It's the 31st of Sunday.
Yeah, the 31st is a Sunday.
Hey.
Oh wait, is that good for you? I mean, it's good that it's the weekend, maybe.
It's convenient.
And
it's convenient.
And yes,
enjoy Samhain.
Yeah, it hits theaters this coming Friday.
Well, I am perfectly happy watching Alien and doing a stream with you on Halloween, because I'm not going to be going out anywhere, because I live on one of those wonderful, microcosm microeconomies known as a council estate, which means that you don't go out on Halloween night.
I have heard of those.
Yeah. I get that.
I think we have an equivalent here, but I'm not gonna. I don't know. I'm not qualified.
Somewhere between the closest that the closest tone, the closest tone I've ever heard Americans talk about any part of America with the same kind of tone we describe council estates is when I hear people talk about the Bronx.
Oh, okay.
But like the Bronx in the 80s.
Yeah. And Rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So,
sorry, Rain was just asking about the movie. Yes, it is the Dune the book series. Yes.
So I think we can move on to. Oh, and for the purposes of Shilling trying to get me to 200, I'm
Frozen.
still. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still. I'm still 17 away from 200. And with that, I think we can move to taglines.
Come on, you guys. Just subscribe. It literally costs you nothing. Just 17 of you. So each of you tell one friend, hey, subscribe to this person, please. That's my tagline today.
Yeah.
At least you won't get it wrong. Take care, be good, and remember, as always, if you can't be good, be careful.
Yeah. And
pardon?
Sam?
Have a day, and remember, communication is key.
And remember, indoctrination is a hell of a drug.